Hello and welcome back to Outside the Box, an MLS podcast. My name is Juanners.
This is Daniel.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Joss.
And we are officially, I'd say, about a fifth of the way through with the regular season here. I mean, take or leave half a game, you know what I mean? At this point, though, through 7 games, teams have their identities. We have our takes on their identities. Teams have kind of a general outlook. We're starting to see some Coach of the Year discussions going on. We'll get into all of that. We're here to recap your MLS Match Day 7, starting first with the bottom of the standings. We're going to go to LA Galaxy, who find themselves in last place from, the heights of being MLS Cup champion to now. It's not looking pretty for the Galaxy. They played a 2-0 loss against RSL. Have kind of everyone here just kind of, assigned to this one. It was a nice 2:30 matchup. We'll talk about RSL as it pertains to them, but first off, guys, with the Galaxy, not looking good. Officially the worst team in MLS after, Toronto's got some good stuff going on. SKC, which we'll get to as well, getting their first win as well. I can't say I'm not sad, fellas. How are we feeling? We'll go to Jeremy first, man.
I don't feel sad either. But at the same time, I understand exactly why they're in this predicament. And it's not just because of Ricky Puig getting hurt. It's because of all the effects of winning MLS Cup, going up against the salary cap, and having to jettison so many key contributors for that squad. And I guess if there's a silver lining here, they're getting to play a lot of their academy kids right now. Tucker Lepley's getting a ton of time. Harbor Miller's getting a ton of time. There are, I guess, some positives for the future. And I think going into this season, the Galaxy didn't really care about how the early part of the season would go until Puig got back. But they're still in with a chance because the West is completely nuts, which it's insane to say, but they are. They've done nothing to inspire hope in anyone, in none of their fans. Right now, they are down 2-0 to Tigres in CCL. Tigres scored in minute 9 and minute 10. They're already done there. And I feel like that's just going to come as some kind of sweet release. We can finally focus on the league.
Joss, what do you make of the team, man? You got a team worse than SKC now to laugh at. I'm sure it feels pretty good.
Yeah, imagine not having won a game yet this season. Could not be us, guys. We're all winners here.
Absolutely.
The Galaxy, I was reading Doyle's article that Daniel, you shared in the chat earlier, about what every Western Conference team needs, and for every team but the Galaxy, he had a good answer. For the Galaxy, they need a seance. They need to turn to whatever god they pray to and just ask for forgiveness for whatever they've done, which is, of course, go up against MLS's salary cap. Not so fun, Galaxy fans, when the league doesn't bend for you. There's a new shiny toy in town, and it is on the East Coast. Yeah, poor Galaxy. Thanks for Jovic, but yeah. You got a star out of it, right? So you can't be too down in the dumps.
Right.
Enjoy Zanka laying off assists for Diego Luna, though, because that was awesome.
Yeah, no Yoshida. Yoshida had to sit this one. I also think they, no Mickey Yamane, though. I think Harbor Miller may end up getting that role, and I know we were kind of high on him as well. Daniel, you got any thoughts on the Galaxy?
2 points in 7 games is very, very sad. Only silver lining is 2 of those draws came against 2 top 10 teams in the MLS in Portland and Minnesota right now. So I guess you can
Uh,
take that and run with it, LA Galaxy fans. But yeah, you guys are really missing Ricky Pooch. It's like when the Bengals lose Joey Burrow. It's like they don't have any kind of offensive rhythm without him. So kind of stinks to see. But like not really. Like Jeremy's sad, or sorry, not Jeremy. Juan's sad because like it is sad to see someone fall so far, but at the same time,
Oh, I'm
Jeremy's
not
not
sad at
sad
all.
because
I'm not sad at all.
and I'm the only one who's sad. But it's fun to watch good soccer. This is not good soccer.
No, definitely not. Moving. Anything else on the Galaxy before we move on? Because otherwise, we have a very not Toronto. Sorry, Montreal. Other team without a win. They headed up to Columbus, came away with nothing. 2-1 loss. Their only goal came off a post, and then Prince Owusu neatly put it away. I wonder between him and Vrioni, because he's starting to get healthy, if they're just going to keep going with Prince. I do quite like Prince. But for this one, I got Joss. What'd you make of Montreal here? They do have their new coach as well, Marco Donadel.
Yeah. Thank you for signing me Montreal Columbus this week, Juan. I've become a bit of a Montreal hater because I feel like Courtois was sacked unfairly, and it took away Sporting Kansas City's option to be the first team to do anything this season. Hopefully, give me some sort of trophy, give me something to hold on to in sacking Peter Vermes, but we couldn't even have that. So I'm a bit of a Montreal hate watcher at this point. And interestingly, I actually thought that they went to Columbus and they played pretty decently. I felt like on Columbus's first goal, they broke Montreal's press pretty easily. But Montreal had, I think, 2 offside goals, and numerous chances in the second half that Wilfred Nancy touched on in the presser, saying that basically he was upset with how Columbus didn't capitalize on their breakaways and just allowed Montreal to stay in the game. Obviously, Prince Owusu gets the goal. Caden Clark, who honestly, I know he's been around. I feel like he's been around forever. I kind of forgot he was up there in Montreal because it just feels like he's been around for so long and he's been abroad and he's come back home. He shoots off the post, rebounds to Owusu, and I noticed that Clark did not get the assist for this, and now this is just a personal thing of mine. I feel like he should.
No,
I mean,
I don't
he
think
got
you
credited.
should.
Oh, the goal doesn't happen without his action. Come on,
That's
at
true,
least give him
that's true.
something.
I don't know.
So that's a personal thing of mine. In fantasy, it's counted. In fantasy Premier League, shots like that are counted as assists. So that's my argument for counting them officially. And I just feel like that's just a personal pet peeve of mine. But yeah, like I said, Montreal had a couple goals ruled out for offsides that were gorgeous, by the way. Caden Clark's goal, where he was just like marginally offside, was it was a thing of beauty because the ball comes down the channel for Owusu to run onto. He plays it back into Sealy, and then Sealy's pass falls to Laturi, who just does a little flick over the defender for Clark to finish. And it was gorgeous. And I feel like they should get style points. But again, I don't make the rules, or else the sport would look a lot different. But bit of a Montreal hate watcher. Again, imagine not having any wins yet. Could not be my club. Justice for Courtois.
Anybody else want to chime in with their Montreal takes here?
Is Montreal one of the few teams that doesn't have an identity yet? I mean, I know they fired their head coach, whatever, but they've run 3-4-3 twice. They run 3-5-2 twice. They've run a 3-4-1-2 once. They've run a 4-3-3 once, and they've run a 4-2-3-1 once.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, it's no wonder they're not very good.
Well, I mean, the last two, because they usually play 3 out of the back, and the attacking 3 kind of switch between either 2 strikers and an attacking mid, 2 inside forwards behind 1 striker. Like they kind of, and beyond, Montreal is like they don't have that one guy that they can just go to. They like to just rotate players in and out. You know what I mean? That's why you got a guy like Yuri Gabaglo at right back at 17 years old, because they're like, well, yeah, I know 19-year-old Jackiel Marshall Ruddy isn't a world beater, but we need someone younger than him. Like they are all about youth out there, right? And that means like just testing them out in various different formations and various different calibrations. Because I mean, you're not going to get a star player to come in and build around, you know. But beyond that, the 4-3-3, which is what they played here, they had Loturi, Piet, and Nathan Saliba. I do like Saliba a lot. I think he's a good player. Between Loturi and Piet, one of them is like, I like Piet, so I would maybe drop Loturi for maybe someone a bit more dynamic, but Saliba, you know, big thumbs up for me, I think, at least in midfield. That's a player to build around.
Yeah, Saliba had one of the offside goals he had the assist on, and it was just a beautiful little cross from the right hand edge of the box, and he split the entire defense. And I think it was Lutari was just offside. But I like Saliba too. I think he's a tidy little player.
Now, fellas, before we move on, we just covered the two teams without a win this season. They are both at home this weekend. Montreal hosts Charlotte. LA Galaxy hosts Houston Dynamo. I'm going to pose the question to you guys. I guess I can't say does Montreal get their win first, right? But of these two games, like, are we thinking one of them wins, both of them find their wins? Like, who's going to find their win first between Montreal and Galaxy, pretty much? I'll start with Jeremy, if you were to pick between these two.
This is tough because I don't think either of them win this weekend. I think Montreal gets a home draw, which is still a very good result for them. But, I don't want to spoil anything about Houston yet, but I don't think the Galaxy are going to win that game. Because the Galaxy can't score goals, and even though they have Peck and Paintsil back, they still can't score goals. I am struggling to find where one of these wins could come from over the next couple weeks for either of these teams.
Damn.
Yeah, if I just look at the Galaxy really quickly, they host Houston next week, then they go to Austin, then they host Portland, and then it's 3 straight road games: Kansas City, Red Bulls, Philadelphia, before they face LAFC in the Trafico on Sunday, May 18th.
Is that neutral or at home?
That is a home game. That is at Dignity Health.
Okay.
So I don't see a win for them in any of those spots. Like, I guess you could say maybe Austin, but not going to spoil any Austin thoughts for this. I think that's kind of their most realistic place to get a win if they don't get it this weekend against Houston. But I think with the way they're crashing out of CCC right now, which, once again, quick reminder on that, it's the 24th minute. They're down 2-0 already because they allowed goals in the 9th and 10th minutes. I think they're a little cooked. I'll let someone else handle Montreal, but it wouldn't shock me if the Galaxy reached June and still didn't have a win, which is absolutely insane to say for a team.
I'm here for it.
No, I'm absolutely here for it too. But because after that LAFC game, they have to go to San Diego, then they host San Jose, and then they host RSL. So there could be a chance on May 31st, right before the calendar turns to June, that they get their first win because it's RSL. But RSL also just beat them on the weekend through mostly self-inflicted errors. So I don't know. I do not know. This Galaxy team isn't inspiring hope in anyone, and it's certainly not inspiring any hope in their own players. So I think they're really cooked.
What about the rest of the panel? I'll go to Joss first. Who you taking between Montreal and the Galaxy?
I think there's a strong argument that the Galaxy might be the worst defending MLS champs ever. Just based off of the games that we've seen so far. I know it's early, but this team doesn't exactly inspire anything in me that makes me think they can turn this around. I mean, Greg Vanney I like as a coach a lot, I think that the Galaxy would be stupid to fire him because it's really kind of out of his control. I think it's a lot of the salary cap. From what I saw from Montreal against Columbus, I thought, like I said, I thought they looked good, and there were moments where, I mean, if they were just a little luckier with the offside calls, they could have been 3-2 up, and winning and leaving Columbus with a win. So I don't. Ugh. I mean, I know Charlotte traveled out to San Jose. Did they win, or did San Jose go to you, Daniel? I forget. No, you were at home.
Yeah.
Okay, you're at home.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha. I was just looking at the recent pictures. Yeah, Charlotte haven't necessarily traveled well this year. I mean, in their last 5 games, their 2 away games, they lost and they didn't even score a goal. But that was Colorado and Miami. Maybe I feel like out of the Galaxy and Montreal, if we were just to measure them on who gets a win this weekend, if I were to bet on it, I'd say Montreal probably they probably beat Charlotte, but it's. I'm not saying they probably beat Charlotte. I'm saying like they're more likely to win than the Galaxy are.
What say you, Daniel?
Montreal will get their first win on May 17th after a short weekend against Toronto because they have Wednesday games that week. So they have a really tough slate too, the same way LA Galaxy do. But their first winnable game that I see is after that short week against Toronto. It is at home. It's a rivalry game. It's an afternoon game. I can see them squeaking it out. Yeah, and buyer beware. Don't spend $500K on discovery rights for a 34-year-old midfielder with multiple knee surgeries. LA Galaxy.
You can say that about a lot of MLS teams, honestly. I'm gonna go a bit against your fade here because I do like Montreal. I think at home, man, they're gonna show out for their supporters because again, Montreal starts every season on the road, and it's once they get at home where we really get to see who they are, what they are, and the actual level that they can be. Whether or not they warranted sacking Couture or not, I don't know. It remains to be seen, but I'm gonna say let Donadell cook, right? Get Vanny out of the kitchen in LA Galaxy, because the real cook is Donadell. So and I like his name. It's very Italian, right? But
True.
Speaking of Italians, ooh, you like that segue? Bernardeschi scoring an amazing pirouette of a goal, some finesse in his finish here to open up the scoring. The broadcast said probably Toronto's best performance this year, and I am inclined to agree. They're playing out of a 4-2-3-1. Insigne at the attacking mid is, I don't know, I still don't vibe with it. But Theo Corbeanu, their left winger, man, I'm a big fan of his, honestly speaking. I'll open it up to y'all, whoever wants to, passionately take on the Toronto talk here, because I could go on, but because I like this performance, man, I really do. But what say you guys? What are y'all feeling about Toronto so far?
Juan,
No one jump first.
I'd like for Juan to go on. Honestly,
I'll go on.
Impassioned.
I'll go on.
I feel bad for interrupting.
No. I mean, I always I try not to get too ahead of myself because I did say on the pod that there's something about this team where they're a bit more defensively sound than they let on. I think overall, if they had a better goalkeeper, if they had someone like a Brad Stuver or a Joe Willis or just anybody really at the top echelon of goalkeepers. No offense to Sean Johnson, but he's been underperforming, and he's also just one of those big contracts soaking up a lot of salary there. So that's some bad business there. But beyond that, defensively, they are scrappy, as Robin Fraser has made some of his prior teams. Not out of choice, but out of necessity. Sigurd, I mean, they were without Kevin Long, and Kevin Long is their I would argue their best center back, and they did well to disrupt Miami. I mean, granted, you did have a fatigued Miami, and we'll talk about that once we get to the Miami section. So it might have been easier to navigate, pushing and pressing Messi when he's tired, but at the same time, it is Messi. Like the sportsbook had this number crazy for Miami to win. Like Miami should have gotten all 3 points. And Toronto came in and ruined the game script. And so I got to applaud that. I really do. Anybody else have any thoughts before we move on Toronto?
3 games. 3 games with Lorenzo Insigne starting. 2 points against arguably 2 of the best teams in the MLS with Vancouver and Inter Miami. So I hate to say, I don't think that's a coincidence. I might be a little bit biased. I own 5 Lorenzo Insigne jerseys. I think he's a wonderful player.
Officer,
I think he plays his best when
get him.
I think he plays his best when he is on the wing and he's inverting in. So it kind of makes sense that he can play well centrally. They're still not scoring a lot of goals, but that pass he had to Bernardeschi was beautiful, and then the way Bernardeschi finished it was also beautiful. I don't know what this team needs to add in the next 15 days to kind of turn things around, or even add this summer, but they do seem to be picking up some kind of momentum. So, I mean, that's a positive for them. That was a huge result they had against Inter Miami on the road.
I mean, for me, for all intents and purposes, for Toronto, their season starts this Saturday. It's a good way now that you're playing out of a 4-2-3-1, a lot more solid in midfield, a lot more balanced. And, this result is something to build off of. So if you can, prove it against a team like Minnesota, and they're going to want to cede possession, right? So if Toronto can play their game, if they can ride this result into 3 points on Saturday, it kind of, for me, turns them a bit around in my eyes. But, got to prove it. Got to go and beat one of the best teams in the Western Conference right now. So, to be seen. Another team for me that is honestly to be seen is New England Revolution on this one. Who did I have on? Joss?
Me. Yeah.
Just keep giving you the worst teams, man. What do you make of New England, bro? Because I watch them, and it's the same thing week in, week out. Like, whether it's Peyton Miller whether it's Polster or Ewell, like, there's no sauce here for this team. Like, I feel bad for Gil.
I'm inclined to agree. However, I do think Ganago I thought he was pretty good, and I feel like he was pretty good against the Red Bulls too. But yeah, this Revs team, I mean, they still have not scored a goal from open play this season, which is insane to me. They're still waiting for that. Carlos Gil, yeah, like you said, like I feel bad for him too. I mean, he's from Spain, and they got him shelved up in some bad team in cloudy New England. Like, this poor guy, bro. He's not used to this.
Bro,
get him somewhere warm.
Free Gil.
That's what I'm saying. He's in prison right now, dude.
Boston is Siberia of MLS, bro, for being honest.
It's where players go to die, except for every once in a while something clicks and a Tejon Buchanan comes through and things look amazing. But yeah, I feel bad for Heel too. I don't want to talk too much about Cincy yet, but they were down a few key players, and a few is on the lesser side of that word. They were down a lot of key players, and still, the Revs really couldn't do anything. But they do have Shankalai and Capania, who are closer to coming back. Maybe that'll be something for them.
Bro.
Yes. Maybe we might see a few things. So yeah.
Good luck, Caleb Porter.
I don't know. I mean,
if it's one thing,
about it.
At least the team isn't getting like frustrated and emotional on the pitch and fights with Nick Lima and Caleb Porter. Like, these seem to be Porter's guys. So if Porter's guys can't get it done, there's one common denominator between Porter's guys this year and the guys that were playing under Porter last year. So yeah, that's all I will say there. Anyone else have any thoughts on New England before we move on?
What do you guys think of the future of Noel Buck?
Man, he got iced
Ooh.
out, dude. I don't know where the hell he's at. Because he should be starting. There's no reason
He's
why.
talented enough to be starting. Yeah.
I mean, Porter would rather have Maxi or Rudy as a striker instead of Ignatius Ganago and then put Noel Buck on the wing out there. Like, I don't know why that setup. Like, Ganago's a striker. He can play up there. I don't know why he's being, like, forced on the wing here. But something's not clicking for me, and neither is for Noel Buck, who, again, doesn't even see time on the pitch. Two subs total for Porter, and one of them was made before they went down, and only one of them was made after they were down 1-0. Like, my guy, come on.
I mean, if you're Caleb Porter, that bench doesn't exactly inspire very much confidence either.
Noel Buck, though?
Yeah.
I guess that's
But-
about it, really.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have another attacker on the bench at all.
Yeah, well, for me, I guess I really don't know if they're like an attacker away, though. You know what I mean?
I feel like that was what I took away. I called their attack anemic. You know how bad it was for me to have to use the word anemic in my podcast notes, guys. That's what it was. It was like watching an animal die on the side of the road.
Yeah, I just think the best version of the Revs is one without Porter in the picture, but
Yeah.
we'll see from there. Moving on.
Before we move on, Juan,
Oh,
before we
let's not
move on, Jeremy, you're a big Caleb Porter believer. How does that make you feel?
Way to put me on the spot here. I think that the story of this season can't be told without the injuries. And I think Chonkalai, who when healthy is their second best player behind Heel and Campana, both going down so early in the season. And Chonkalai's injury carrying over from last year. I think they're always going to be hamstrung. It places a ton of pressure on Luca Langoni, who I remember last year when he came, I heard a lot of things about how this guy was going to be, like, he was going to elevate this team. He really was. He has done nothing like that this year. He's been in utter disappointment. He's been worse this year. Yeah, he's been worse this year after having a full preseason than he was last year coming in the middle of the season for Boca. So, yeah, I don't know what the thinking is there. Silver lining, that Fofana-Ceballos center back partnership, I'm going to keep talking about it. It's still good. And if you have a solid center back partnership, I think you'll be fine in the long run. But I think his Porter's issue is having Campana go down, having to rely on a now 34-year-old Maxi Urruti, who is just not the same guy he even was 2 years ago. They're in such a tough place. I don't know if this is going to cost Porter his job, though. I really don't.
It's not.
That's what the conventional wisdom is saying. It's like, this is going to get Porter fired. I'm like, no, not really. If they're like this and it's September and they still haven't scored a goal from open play, then I think he gets fired. But once again, a lot more has to go wrong in order for that to happen. I think it's just been a very bad start to the season against, a relatively tough schedule. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. They go to Atlanta this week, then they host NYC. I think a winnable game is Toronto on May 3rd. But until then, it's been a really tough opening of the season for them.
Let's go back over to the West, going to the Derby Q, and we're sticking with Joss. St. Louis City traveled to his mighty Kansas City Wizards. He was off to see the Wiz that night. Am I correct? You go to all the games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I was there.
He was off to see the Wiz under new interim head coach Kerry Zavagnin.
Mm-hmm.
butchered the name. I didn't know if it was more luxurious than
European
that or
or something.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, SKC, man, new coach bump is very real. SKC they straight up beat St. Louis. We'll go
They
to the man
did.
himself. What'd you make of that one, man?
I want to talk about the game. SKC first. I won't touch very much on St. Louis until later. And then I want to talk about kind of the what the fans were saying during and after the game, because I mean I'm sure if you're tuned into MLS spaces at all, you kind of saw what St. Louis fans thought about SKC fans, and I want to talk about it. But SKC, yep, like Juan said, they got their first win in 200 days. Any guesses on who the last team to lose to SKC were before last weekend?
Colorado Rapids.
Colorado Rapids, 4-1. It was not in Colorado. Let's be clear. I don't think we've won there since the Iron Age. But yeah, 4-1. SKC with the new head coach Kerry Zavagnin. There was a lot of talk about interim head coach, I should say. Before the game, I talked to Daniel Sperry, who is the star reporter, and I was like, is it Zavagnin's job to lose, or what's sort of the vibe around here? And he cited something that Andrew Wiebe said earlier, was like, Sporting are looking to get a chief soccer officer before they get a head coach, and have the chief, like the CSO, will help lead the search for the head coach.
Hell
And
yes.
I'd heard that before. I was talking to my buddy at the game. We're not really sure what a CSO does. It's kind of a position that you don't really hear about in like other sports. I don't think there's a chief basketball operator, but I know there's like a general manager and a CEO and all this stuff, but you don't really see that specific sport position. But teams that succeed in MLS usually do so with a good CSO and in world soccer. So I think that's a good idea. But yeah, at the game. Oh, sorry. Any thoughts on that?
No, go ahead.
No, okay. At the game, it was a tense first half. SKC lined up 4-3-3 until they die. I mean, Zavagnin has played or coached like 84% of Kansas City Soccer's games. That's Wizards, that's Sporting KC. So I wasn't really buying this whole new coach bounce, because it's not really a new coach. This guy's been there. This guy's probably got like a permanent parking spot there, and he's probably got a bed there. Honestly, he's been there for that long. So I wasn't sure about this whole new coach bounce, but he said after the game that at halftime, for the first time in a while, the players went in and said, "We're not losing tonight." And he said that's the first time that he felt that confidence, and that just feels good to hear, man. Honestly, Joveljic gets 2 goals. Shout out the Galaxy. Thank you for running up against the cap. Joveljic gets 2 goals. And I was like, man, $4 million for 2 Derby goals. It kind of feels nice. I know it's a lot of money, but it's not my money. I'll take that. So, he could have had a hat trick as well. He's got 4 goals so far this season, which is, I think it's 3 more than St. Louis have open play goals. So a little math for you there. One thing that Zavagnin actually did change from Vermes, which was interesting, is on SKC's first goal, Manu Garcia picks up this nice spot right in between the midfield and the defense, and he's able to turn and drive, like I see Forsberg do a lot for the Red Bulls, turn and drive at the defense, and then slip in Joveljic. I think before Zavagnin got there, I think Joveljic is probably the one in that position, and then there's nobody in front of him for him to pass to. So it was really nice to see the number 10 actually play in the number 10. And we were told it's because they actually did flip the midfield around and put Garcia in positions like that, which would have made more sense to me to do automatically, but I don't get paid the big bucks, so what do I know? Joveljic finishes off a rebound, a great save by St. Louis's keeper. And then after the game, there was a lot of there was a Reddit thread in St. Louis City saying that the Cauldron were not family friendly enough. That they were saying things like about Klaus's hair, or saying F St. Louis, and that's just not okay in today's game, guys. Okay, we know that. We have to be sure that everyone feels welcome, even if they're an away fan. But I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that, because I think that's so funny. I mean, the Cauldron has its own fair share of problems. I won't deny that. It's very millennial coded. I won't deny that. However, it's a rivalry game.
Yeah,
what are you mad about?
I will say when we start getting on the topic of hooliganism, it starts to for me. I always say, if it's between two consenting adults away from the stadium, go at it. Have your fun. Like, if you want to die and fight for the single entity club, it's a free country, right?
Right.
But I do like as an away fan rolling in to away games and feeling some tension. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's a healthy amount to it of like, man, this guy is like an asshole because he's an away fan. But then after the match, it's like, okay, whatever. It's like the match is done, right? Like, let's all go home safe. Like no one's trying to go sicko mode or anything like that, right? But
Right.
what do y'all think? I mean, I think you should make away fans as uncomfortable to a point, but
I do too.
What do y'all think?
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think, first of all, if you are an away fan, you want to go in to see your club win away from home. And if you're going to attend a rivalry game that you, it being St. Louis fans, have basically made your entire identity about, throwing all the shade towards Kansas and something about Nebraska Furniture Mart or something like that. I wouldn't know. I'm not a Missouri or Kansas local.
I would. I've been
But
It's a great place.
It's awesome.
Great deals. Sponsor us.
yeah, they've already got a couple of like lingo in there, but once again, I'm gonna save most of my like away fan talk for the St. Louis portion of this because I have so many St. Louis thoughts after this game. But bottom line, just a quick one. If you're gonna go to a rivalry game and you're gonna be upset that the other team hates you, like, I have no words. I legitimately have no words. That is just mind-numbingly stupid behavior. But for SKC, part of me is like, do they win this with Vermees in charge? I think maybe they do.
I don't think they do.
But I think maybe they do. I don't think they win in the same manner that they do. But I think they possibly could have won this game with Peter Vermees in charge. Other than that, Jake Davis, what a player he is. That's just my main takeaway.
Well,
Yep.
here's my counter to that takeaway. He played in midfield, and
Yeah,
what have we been screaming that Vermees has refused to do? I mean, he's only done it when Shelton is available, but Shelton's been available, and still we see Davis at right back. So I'm glad to see the move there because Jake Davis, like you said, exceptional player, like a player to build around. Him and Bartlett, I think. Bartlett more of a defensive midfielder, but those two and Manu, and that's it. And you have your fucking midfield there. And that midfield I think that midfield cooks, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I want to shout out Jansen Miller. I felt like he was fantastic, especially in that second half. He's from St. Louis, so it meant a little more to him. And he even said like the reason he's an SKC fan is because St. Louis never had a team when he was growing up. So again, and also I don't know if anyone caught this, but I was on the side with the St. Louis fans. And ball goes out in like the 92nd minute. We're already 2-0 up. Jansen Miller goes to take a throw in, and he shushes those St. Louis fans in the corner. That's your boy. That's your home. He grew up in your neighborhood, and he thinks that of you, by the way. Yeah.
Damn.
So endeared himself to me. Also, shouts to Jacob Bartlett because he was playing center back at Notre Dame like 6 months ago. He's 19 years old, and he's playing like that. Also, White, center back from Notre Dame. Welcome back from Kansas. Welcome back, Matt Beasler.
Yep.
Potentially. And then just one more anecdote, and then we can move on. Me and my friends for Obviously the Wizards were voted fans of the match, so we got to talk to Zavagnin and Pulskamp afterwards, and we were just as Wizard of Oz characters because there's no place like home. And Pulskamp turns around to see my friend Isaac dressed as the Scarecrow, And then he sees me and my friend Carrie, and he goes, "Oh my God, Wizard of Oz!" I thought this guy was just weird, and that was just very funny to me.
That's amazing. I'm all for SKC turning the page, honestly, because I do think they got a team there, and I do think they needed to get Vermees out of the room there because his voice, I mean, is very, very leading one. So maybe a change was warranted. Just like in Houston, who switched up their formation here a bit. They got Junior Urso to come in and play holding midfielder. Still at what? How old is he old now? Like 34. How old is Junior? Oh, he's 36 actually. So
yeah,
36.
More like
Even more
senior.
impressive.
grizzled veteran.
Grizzled.
More like senior or so.
Senior Urso. And this allowed Jack McGlynn to play as a 10. And he got the only goal in a rather drab game between Houston and Los Angeles. But that 1-0 was enough for them to get their first win of the season. On this one, I had Daniel. What did you make of this one between Houston, who are still kind of, I'd say, I don't know, like they did well to capitalize here off of LAFC that's rotated and stuff, but I'm not convinced by Houston, honestly. What'd you make of the match, or more specifically, Houston?
So you're not convinced. I'm going to talk about the feel-good story it was because they finally got their first win of the season. A game that probably flew under the radar this weekend with some of the bigger matches that were happening around the league, but it ended up being a really solid performance from Houston. The big story was Jack McGlynn. He got his first goal for Houston. It was a great finish, left-footed curler just outside the box, bottom corner. Real calm, composed in the 58th minute after a nice little setup from Griffin Dorsey. It's also the fastest I've ever seen Jack McGlynn move, which kind of is beating the too slow for Philly allegations I made about him during the preseason podcast. Anyways, you could tell that goal meant a lot to the group. It was the first one for the night, and it held up. Defensively, Houston looked organized. They gave LAFC a little bit more of the ball, but didn't really let them create many clean chances. When LA finally got one, Blake Gillingham, who is a rookie keeper, came up huge. The save in the 80th minute on Eddie Segura's header was top tier. Moment of the match, and it's the first MLS clean sheet for him, and it was well earned. It was a big win, first of the season, something to build on, but you can't really make too much out of it with a really heavily rotated LAFC side. So curious to see how they build on this, but I mean, you're right. I talked about the feel good side of it, but you really can't make too much of it.
Well, and then, if they really want McGlynn as the attacking midfielder, I feel like it's very funny that they went and signed an attacking midfielder in Linger, Ondrej Linger, who's coming from, I think, Czech Republic. Was it Slavia Prague?
The Czech league, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't know anything about Linger. I don't know if he is, gonna play as a winger once he comes in. Ibrahim Aliou, who's like the only guy with some like real pace outside of Griffin Dorsey, is just riding the bench now, and I feel like he could start elsewhere in the league, or if not, be more of a depth player first off the bench. Like, he only got about 10 minutes here, So I'm like, I don't know, like where how do these attacking pieces fit once Linger's here? Because I don't know if you put McGlynn back where Senior Urso is. I'm gonna take that for sure. But like, how are you guys feeling about Houston? I mean, the rest of the pod, because it's like it is a feel good win. It's always nice to beat a team like LAFC, but I feel like these moments are going to be rare this season.
I do have some congratulations to hand out for Houston because I think they found their starting goalkeeper of the future. I am so convinced by Blake Gillingham. He was fantastic coming in as a substitute against the Sounders a couple weeks ago. He put in a really good performance against Portland, even though they still lost 3-1. And he was fantastic again in this game. So the fact that he started the season third string behind both Tarbell and Jimmy Maurer, both of whom are 30 plus. Maurer also almost 37. He'll turn 37 this year. I think it's huge that the 22-year-old Gillingham has staked such a serious claim to this job, like within his first 3 starts. So congratulations to them. You have a keeper of the future, which was a question mark I had for them this season after letting Steve Clark go. But hey, he's there. Good for you guys.
I do think that Jack McGlynn, I hope that he remains in this position that he played over the weekend, because they moved him forward a little bit. He used to be like a part of this double pivot, but he played as like a right-sided number 10 in this game against LAFC. And I mean, looking at the stats of the game, he had the second best XA tally of the season. So this McGlynn, I mean, I know I was big on this McGlynn signing. I think you guys probably were too when it happened in the off season. But I'm really glad to see him doing well, and I still think there's more to come from him, even though he's already been so good for this Houston team. I hope they don't move him back. I like him as that 10.
Maybe like a 4-2-2. Just
Maybe.
even though that's not in their nature. I want to see. I do want to see McGlynn attacking more. I think that's the key for them, but we'll see. The rest of the pieces are just so unconvincing. Like Ezekiel Ponce is not a top tier striker in the league. Like I know McGlynn's doing his best to feed him, but I'm just so unconvinced by him. Kowalczyk on the wing, can do without him as the starter. You know, Bossy. It's like Bossy's still good, but I'm like less and less impressed by him as a game-changing option in midfield. So, anything else on Houston? Because if not, we're gonna move on to DC United, who got spanked 6-1 on the road, cross-country trip for them. We were kind of having a little bit of discussion when the game was happening, but it does seem like this DC team is just very, very much the worst version of last year. Like I don't know how it managed to happen here, playing out of a 4-2-3-1, but they've gotten worse, I think, and pretty easy to see where they go on all their attacks. It's Benteke, and no one else. So interested to hear what you guys thought of this one. As you know, it was a nice day game in the middle of the Sunday slate. What'd y'all make of this one? No
Fine.
one.
I'll talk about DC United and why after some
tough.
initial optimism about Matti Peltola, I think they just need to get a new holding midfielder, because I think it would solve a lot of problems, even though there are still way too many problems for this team to count. But getting an actual holding midfielder in there, I think, is part one. Even though he's 22, I just don't see it. I was pretty excited about him last year. I haven't seen it through last year and the first part of this season. They are truly in a rough spot. And speaking of things Caleb Porter could outlast, he could probably outlast Troy Lesesne too, which is just unfortunate, because this is not a good roster build.
No, this is very. I mean, I love Jose Kojima, but this is not his position. I did like a little bit of his spurts there, but he and Pirani are often just in the same space, because Kojima wants to dribble it into a counter-attacking opportunity, and Pirani, who offers nothing in transition, like a literal possession killer in transition, takes up the space that they occupy, and it's just disjunct. Like there's like a clear disjointedness there. I want to see this team play out of a 3-back, because long term I think Aaron Herrera could fit the model of that right back to center back transition. I think he could easily be their best center back. He was a little bit sick on this one, so he didn't really play that much, and they could have needed him a lot sooner than when the game was gone. But he was sick, so whatever, right? But I'm just so unconvinced by this team, and Benteke now is just kind of gonna go in the Carl's Gill bin of talent, but surrounded by bozos. So, anyone else thoughts on DC? Because they got whooped, like they got shown out exactly for who they were by San Jose.
Yeah.
I
Is it good if you're allowing 3.2 xG and that's the second time this season you've allowed 3 xG in a game? Is that good, guys? Does anyone know?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Okay, I didn't think so either. But yeah, that's DC. They did. They're also like the defense is just so questionable. And I hate to say that it's like maybe some naivete from their head coach Lesesne. I don't know how to pronounce it. Troy.
Lesesne in the
Lesesne.
membrane.
Lesesne in the membrane. That's what it looks like he's doing with this defensive setup, man. It looks like he is Lesesne in the membrane. I don't know if it's some naivete, but that's really clever. I will be stealing that. Oh gosh, it's hard for me to say. If a team is bad defensively, then there's almost no hope for them attacking wise. No matter if you have the Golden Boot winner up front, you're not going to do anything because the foundation is so poor, and that's what this DC team is. And it's hard for me to unless Lesesne can do some work on that. Maybe it is go to a 5-back play like St. Louis or Minnesota do. That might be a good place to start for them because they got to stop leaking goals like this.
Daniel, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I have 2 thoughts. Your team is not good when David Schnegg is second on your team in progressive passives and second on your team in progressive carries. What happened to Fidel Barrios? Is he hurt?
I don't even know. I mean, he's young.
Like,
still,
he's a
so
talent. What's he doing there?
I don't know. I mean, now I'm upset because I forgot that they do have him on the bench. And did he even ride the bench? I guess he's still injured because I don't see him on the bench. Which, if he's not even making the bench, like, that's insane in the membrane. But beyond that, like, I don't know. I don't know where he's at. Anything
Do
else
some
on
digging on that
DC
one.
though? Because I'm about to get mad now.
That's a former RSL player that he's getting mad about too. That's that's nuts.
He's talent, dude. I got pissed when he went
He
to
is.
Salt Lake. I mean, I would kill for that type of signing at my club. But let's move on to Seattle, who have made a bunch of signings that are not panning out. More specifically, Jesus Ferreira, who is man, like I heard it from Jeremy, and he said, this is kind of where attackers go to die, and this is kind of like Seattle is not doing themselves any favors here against San Diego, who got they got cleaned easily. Who did I have on? I think I just the entire cast here because this was the last match of the slate for Saturday. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about San Diego in due time. But what do you guys make of the Sounders here? Because I think they're cooked.
Honestly. I have one specific note, and then I'll hand it off. I said Stephen Fry # going out sad.
Is that Fry's fault or is that the defense's fault?
Yes. I mean, he's still going out sad.
Okay, valid.
It's all of them. It's just all of them at this point. And, as someone who was told over and over again that this was one of the deepest rosters in league history over the offseason, that it will be competing on multiple fronts for multiple trophies. And despite that, despite the injuries that they've suffered, which, yeah, I think those injuries are going to affect the attack, and that's fine. Like, that happens sometimes. It's usually harder to replace attackers in this league than it is for defenders. They've been able to have their first choice back line together for most of this season, guys. And that's what makes this team such a high floor. It was what makes them such a high floor squad, because they can rely on seasoned defenders who've been here for years upon years and just played in some of the biggest games and been able to get the job done. So when it's the second minute of a crucial away game, as you're approaching your fifth game in a row without a win in all competitions, and you have players with their backs turned to the guy who is carrying the ball into the box, I think they're broken. I think the defense is broken. I don't think we'll hear anything about the defense being broken. I think we'll hear some good things about Stephen Fry, which I don't know why we're going to get to hear good things about Stephen Fry when, according to FOTMob, he is the worst shot stopper in the league this year. He's prevented the fewest amount of goals. He's actually been at fault for 4, is what FOTMob says. Which, I mean, who could have seen this coming? Not me, who has called Fry a pumpkin every single year since 2021. Certainly not me. But that's besides the point. The attack, I think those attacking issues might get relatively solved as long as they can continue to pad their XG, which, once again, you have to hand it to the Seattle Sounders here. By conceding a goal so early, it allowed them to get on the front foot, which, I mean, for them in this state really isn't anything. They don't get to get on the front foot in this state, but they got to pad their XG a little bit more. And even though they didn't score a goal, it's the hypothetical goals that matter.
Absolutely.
That's true.
I'm just learned that if you call someone... oh, sorry, go ahead, Joss.
No, I was going to say they are like Los Angeles Chargers fans with Justin Herbert.
But who's their Herbert? Is their Herbert Obed Vargas?
I think it's their depth.
Just the depth in general. All the supplemental roster spots.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should applaud that analogy or completely boo it. Because he just said the whole depth is one player.
Their depth is their if, and I'm not going to elaborate, actually.
Have you ever seen Cody Baker and Reed Baker Whiting in the same room? I haven't.
My thing there is the funny thing someone said about it is someone said Paul Rothrock is like a Pokemon name, and then Reed Baker Whiting is his evolution, and then Kalani Casarienzi is like the third tier there of just insane names. So if anything, I will give the Seattle Sounders have some great name games, but I don't know. Seattle, to Jeremy's point about the defense being broken, I think we saw the initial signs when Nuhu blasted it into his own goal. So, it all just kind of goes to that moment when Sounders cohesive defensive hive mind just shattered in front of everybody. So I'm here for it. Any other thoughts on Seattle, guys? I don't even think
if you call a goalkeeper a pumpkin long enough, they will eventually be able to be considered a pumpkin. Congrats, Jeremy.
That is true. I've been working on Jordan Morris. So, except while Fry is just merely a common pumpkin, Jordan Morris is the great pumpkin. And every October he gets to rise out of the pumpkin patch. Now, this year, he's leveled up. And we were talking about Paul Rothrock's little Pokemon evolution. Jordan Morris is occupying a DP slot this year. It feels mean to talk about a guy who's currently hurt, but also it's Jordan Morris, and I'm sure he'll be fine. He's got a son. He's doing pretty well. He's got DP money. And you know what else DP stands for? Designated Pumpkin. So he has leveled up. And I think this team is going to be a little bit better when they get him back, because he's the only number 9 that they have that actually wants to do number 9 things. I don't know what Jesus Ferreira wants to do. I know he wants to wear the number 9, but I don't think he wants to actually do things up there. He wants to, be a little withdrawn, but we talked about that last week. So, yeah. Is this desperation going to lead to Schmetzer starting Danny Musovski next week? I hope it does. I really, really hope it does.
Quick question for the panel. So I feel like traditionally Seattle does start pretty slow, but in the
Oh
off
no,
chance that this season they do not,
he's going there.
and they are a wild card team / don't make the playoffs. Is Brian Smetzer's seat officially warm?
Ooh.
I mean, you saw how the Sounders fans got when he won. He missed the playoffs. You know, like the Sounders said, like those Sounders fans set a high bar. Even when you win CCC, if you miss the playoffs, a lot of people were calling for his head. Maybe not the most just fans. I guess I should say, like, most fans kind of took it, how it goes. But there are some people that just have ridiculous standards for Seattle, and I think if they do miss this season, I think those questions are valid.
They were Western Conference semifinalists last season, right?
Finalist, because they finally beat LAFC and
You're
treated it like winning a cup.
I meant like, yeah, I guess when I said semifinalists, I meant like MLS Cup semifinalists, even though that's not really a thing. I wonder if that carries any sort of water for Schmetzer. And I mean, everything else he's done too, obviously. But, we lost. We didn't lose Peter Vermes, but maybe it's just a season of long-term coaches coming to the. It's a new dawn, coming to an end.
Yeah, we'll see. Moving on, let's talk about New York City, who, in short, are really missing Santiago Rodriguez. They, at home, lost 1-2 against Minnesota. Minnesota scored within a minute, and then they scored off a nifty little set piece, and it was just New York City trying to break this low block. And it sucks because, like, here's their midfield, right? You have Justin Hack, Keaton Parks, no Jonathan Shore, who is kind of the only two-way presence now on the side. But for this one, again, general OTB thoughts on New York City. We had this was the first game. Yeah, this was the first game of the slate for Sunday. So kind of a nice one to top it off. A minute into the match, you got that goal there, and it really was on New York City to rise to the occasion, and they just didn't. For me, one thing I want to point to is Alonso Martinez. Great when playing against teams that are passing it out the back. Great as a nagging, pressing forward. Beyond that, and beyond his ability to find the ball in the box, like in possession, man, he is. It's quite rough. His passing is not as sharp. He really is the final product, and if his ball is not going towards the net as a shot, it's very likely they're going to lose the ball and turn it over. But interested to hear what you guys had to say about New York City, a team that is missing a Santiago Rodriguez replacement at this point.
I mean, I'm as high on Minnesota as I think anybody. I think Minnesota is the best team in the MLS right now. So because of that, I can't really hold too much against New York City FC outside of they just look really, really sloppy. And you're right, they are missing any kind of attacking product. But that goal by Keaton Parks was pretty nice. We'll give him credit for that, I guess. That's a silver lining.
I don't know. I'm just not sold on how they play, but because I mean they'll be fine in the Eastern Conference, right? But for a team like Minnesota to come in and really like dictate the match flow, and they played right into their style, so it was kind of funny to see how it turned out. Moving on, though, another team with kind of a more chalkboard on nails style, we'll say, St. Louis City, who we talked about, traveled over to Kansas City, got butthurt about being uncomfortable on the away end, little womps for them. I do quite like the talent on St. Louis, I will say, but and they are injured. I will give them the benefit of the doubt for injuries here and there, because they've had, I don't know if Chris Durkin was here. Did Chris Durkin start this one? I completely missed
no.
it. Yeah, no.
Alfredo Morales did, though. I didn't even know he was on St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this St. Louis team, like, it is It is just built to. I mean, it's built to not attack. Really, it's built to be what we found now in Olaf Melberg ball, which is I'm gonna play Alfredo Morales, Akil Watts, Josh Yarrow, Henry Kessler, Nilsson, Hebert, all of them. Conrad Wallum as like this pseudo wingback defensive mid winger. This guy will surely do something for us, but
Wallum played up top in this game.
yeah, like I don't get that. I don't get.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't get. I don't see the vision here for St. Louis. I know Jeremy had some thoughts about him, so we'll go first there before we go to Josh.
Okay. I've been counting. I've done the math. João Klaus last scored a goal on May 11th, 2024.
We're getting
Today
to that
is
year.
April 8th. We are almost to that year. It is 332 days. He has 33 more days to just keep avoiding finding the net, and I'll be very happy because I don't like the St. Louis team. I don't like that they think that they are the protagonist. They have this complex, both them and their fans, like, because this also goes over into the players too, right? Where that they are God's gift to MLS and that they should be getting special treatment because they just pressed everybody to hell in year one, made Manuel Veth look like an absolute ass, and they cannot handle the fact that they are actually the bad guy here. And I put out a tweet over the weekend. This game inspired it. That there are clear good guy and bad guy rivalries in this league. And I used this game, this barbecue, as an example because Kansas City, since St. Louis has come into the league, it's made Kansas City a lot more likable. That I think it also just has to do with SKC not being as good and doing something that we all wanted them to do in the 2023 playoffs, which was send the number one seed home with the tail between their legs. St. Louis is obviously the bad guy here.
Yup.
Very much. Obviously the bad guy. I don't get why. I don't get how you can think otherwise. And also, I don't get why St. Louis wouldn't, embrace that. They committed the most fouls as a team last year. They're just aggressive. They're dirty. And now it looks like they've just given up trying to score goals. Much like João Klaus has done for almost a full calendar year.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Come on.
We're really getting there, and it's good. Meanwhile, I think if there is, one bright spot, I think Celio Pompeu's presence on this team offers something that none of their other attackers can. So I think their success going forward will be reliant on getting Pompeu a little bit more minutes, give him more time to get integrated, especially with the list of injuries that they have piling up. But Teuscher hasn't been it this year. Hartel can still be it. They just refuse to put him in positions to succeed. So, I think it's time for Melberg to ditch the back three because I think they'll be fine without it. And they need to focus on scoring some more goals because looking at this upcoming schedule that they host Columbus and Vancouver. Then they go to LAFC in Seattle. And then they host San Diego before, on a Wednesday for some reason, they host Kansas City, which is insane. God, that's so stupid. What a terrible scheduling decision. So that is actually a very tough run of games in their next 5, and then they have to play their rivals again. So they got to find out a way to get the goals coming. And if you have to sacrifice a little bit of that defensive solidity, which right now they have scored 4 goals all season, and they've conceded 4 goals all season. Keep in mind, 3 of those goals came in one game against the Galaxy. They are in serious, serious trouble.
Joss, anything nice to say about the team that SKC whopped?
I'm going to get a lot of likes on that 007 João Klaus post. if he doesn't score or assist next weekend against Columbus, or I guess this weekend. So that's something nice.
You got it queued up.
Oh yeah. I was really it would be so SKC if he scored in this game, and then I don't even get to do that. No, Joao Klaus leave the game before the game leaves you. That's all. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh my god.
I mean, he was oafing around all game, bro. If they could just put a camera on him, he's not. He doesn't do anything. What does
No.
he even do?
He thinks he's Messi.
He does. He thinks he can afford to do that. And I mean, like Jeremy touched on, the style of play is just so different than like the Red Bull cardiac ball that Carnell had them playing. And I think there's obviously going to be a transitionary period between the styles, but it is ugly. And I was watching some St. Louis fan podcast, and they were saying, man, this is ugly. And Mellberg, he was renowned for his youth development at his former team in Sweden. And they were shocked that they really haven't seen that in the academy, because as much as St. Louis sucks, they do have a good academy, and there is some soccer history there, especially with the players that come through the academies in St. Louis. And for them to not even be taking advantage of that, especially for a coach that prides himself on that, it's weird. So, but I'm glad they're bad. Bad teams deserve to be bad.
Yeah, I'm glad. I was mad at them when they let go of John Klein, because I thought he was a very tidy player, and so when they let him go, I was like, all right, all my feelings for St. Louis are practically dead. Daniel, do you have anything on St. Louis, or are you ready to move on to Atlanta?
Let's move on to Atlanta. My only thoughts on St. Louis is I think their fans are soft, but you guys already touched on that. So
Yup.
They are very soft, among the softest.
So
we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys. Have we done something wrong? Oh my god! Get out! Embrace the villain. Embrace it. You say you're Soccer City, and you just cower whenever something bad happens to you. I'm tired of it.
let's talk about Atlanta, who are I kind of feel are in that same boat a little bit, but they've definitely, because they came in with that same kind of going back to the St. Louis point, they kind of came in with that same swagger of like, yeah, we are God's gift to MLS. We have crazy dynamic South American players that are, billed as everything that the prior generation of MLS clubs could never really truly develop. And, they got their humbling. They had a very defensive style coach in Heinze. So is Olaf Mellberg, oh my God, this is the connection here. Is Olaf Mellberg just is it Gabriel Heinze? I forgot his name, but
Yeah, Gabriel Heinze.
Is that the parallel here? That very well could be it.
Maybe.
Because those two were known for just being rigid. I'll say that much. But
early Atlanta won a trophy, Juanners. you got to remember that. They didn't just top a conference in the regular season.
I guess so. I guess we'll give that to Atlanta here. But can't give them, I don't know, Daniel, can we give them their flowers here? What did you make of their 1-1 match against FC Dallas? I felt it's still like not working for me. I don't know.
yeah, so I'm just gonna give a little bit of a slight game rundown from the perspective of Atlanta, and then I'm gonna make my jokes because I feel like I need to kind of stomp on the grave while I can, and I'm gonna do it. So home game, right? All the cards are in your deck to beat an FC Dallas team that I think so far this year have looked pretty disjointed, right? You had a packed crowd, beautiful artificial turf, big energy. And they started really, really strong. Latte Laft got taken down in the box early, clear penalty that even VAR couldn't fuck up. And Miguel Almiron puts it away in the 17th minute. Super calm, confident finish. Looked like they were going to build on that and take full control of the game. And to be fair, they looked good for most part of the first half.
Real quick,
possession,
Daniel.
Pressure.
I got a question for you, because I know Almiron was linked to Charlotte. Do you ever get sad to see Almiron in the Atlanta kit, knowing you were pretty close to signing him before Atlanta got very jealous that a player could have been an X for them? Are you at all jealous?
No. Yeah, yes and no. I enjoy watching Wilfried Zaha. I think there are other issues with Charlotte's attack, which we've talked about privately, and I'm sure will come up in this podcast. But I think if you choose between one or the other, you obviously always want Almiron because he's a little bit more versatile, but he's just not. If you had to pick one or the other, you pick Almiron. But I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be sour grapes from me about it. It's just nice that you're in the conversation for one of the two. So I'll take it for what it is. Yeah, Eric Quill made some big changes in the second half that kind of messed up Ronnie's game plan. Atlanta still created chances after that, but they just couldn't get that second goal. A lot of half chances, but nothing clear enough to seal it. You could feel the tension late after the game. I'm going to call him Gaffer Ronnie from now on because I don't have enough respect for him. Gaffer Ronnie said we should kill this game. I see improvement in a lot of things, but at the same time, it's frustrating not to win, which I took as coach speak as we did everything but score a second goal, and now I have to pretend I'm not losing my effing mind. And honestly, that sums it up. It wasn't a bad performance, but it wasn't one that left you wanting more. Atlanta's still in a decent spot, but they've got to start turning these kinds of performances into wins. All right, time to step on the grave a little bit. They could spend $150 million in this attack, and Gaffer Ronnie would still fuck it up. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Damn.
These guys are.
God.
It's kind of embarrassing. If they are. Look, a guy like Joss would kill to have half the talent that Atlanta does on his team right now. They would probably make better use of it than what Ronnie's doing right now. I have no idea what's going on over there. How do you draw at home to FC Dallas, who still looks like they can't control the ball for longer than 7 minutes straight because they have no chemistry? Like I don't. I had a nice write-up about this game and trying to find the silver lining, and it was a hard watch. I'm not gonna lie.
I
What
thought
are your
Atlanta
guys'
was
takes?
gonna. I mean, I thought Atlanta was gonna be this team that you have to watch, and last week they were, after some tinkering. But I mean, this could have been the golden ticket for you to just smack up a terrible defense in Dallas. But
I agree.
what does the rest of the panel think?
Can I also talk about Gaffer Ronnie for a second?
Let me hear about Gaffer Ronnie.
My experience with Gaffer Ronnie has come in a cup final where he should have gotten a ticket for indecent exposure after NYCFC beat the Portland Timbers at Providence Park to win MLS Cup in 2021. It's worth noting that throughout that run, especially in the playoffs, despite having some really quality attackers, that team did not look good. They just stumbled their way through the playoffs. They took advantage of a COVID-wrecked Philadelphia Union team that they still had to beat on penalties. They just won penalty shootout after penalty shootout during that entire run. And you could be like, oh, you're just mad because the Timbers didn't win that game. It's like, well, I mean, the Timbers kind of didn't deserve to win that game. They didn't play that well. But it's insane that he was the guy that Lagerwey and Chris Henderson turned to and said he's going to be the one that's going to elevate this attack. When in 2021, they had a guy who's currently banging them in for Lazio on a regular basis. So I feel like he isn't the type of guy who's going to elevate these attackers, because right now he still isn't even figuring out how to put them in the right spots for them to completely succeed. Yeah, I wasn't convinced by the Ronnie hire, and I know they was like, oh, they got another cup-winning head coach, and it was like, how much did you really pay attention to that cup run? Did you really watch those games? Did you see them scrape by a COVID-wrecked Philadelphia Union team in penalties, I might add, and still think, oh yeah, this guy is a really good head coach? Because I've never thought that he's that good of a head coach, and he probably should have a criminal record, at least in the state of Oregon. So, yeah. In terms of Atlanta's players, I don't really have any more takeaways, but yeah, I don't think that hire was the right hire. But once again, only time will tell. we'll see what happens when these guys get in the playoffs and win like 5 penalty shootouts and win the cup or something. It's ridiculous. They'll get away with it because, of course, they will.
I really thought Jean De Silva would have solved a lot of the problems, but it looks like even him, like, and Almiron centrally and Saba wide, like, that was kind of the big thing was, oh, Saba needs to be on the right. Saba needs to be on the right. But even still, like, Saba on the right, I'm like, that's not what it is, really. It is just a poor attack. Discombobulated. I think that's the best word for it. See, like, when Josh, which one did you pull out earlier? You pulled out whatever word you pulled out earlier to describe one of the team.
Anemic.
Yeah. I'm pulling out discombobulated for Atlanta. Man,
that's a great word.
Yep, that's Atlanta. But moving on to another team without a striker, Real Salt Lake. I'm going to say it now. I think we have all of OTB on this. Another fraud win for Real Salt Lake, who are going to get the benefit of, being a team, and this will be a talking point. They're a team that does well against the perceived top fives. They beat Seattle. They beat LA Galaxy, and I'm like, whatever. Like these. I do like Catranis back in the 11. I don't know why Junqua started so many times. I also, Luna is purely their 10. And if there's one saving grace for the Rapids having Cabral, is that Salt Lake have an equal guy in Diogo Gonçalves, who, last year when he came in, I was like, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's got big shoes to fill, given that their dynamic player Carlos Andres Gomez left, effectively shutting down their window that year. And, now we're here today with Gonçalves. And after 7 games, I'm not sold on him. I think he's mid. He is everything that Salt Lake deserve out of a number 10. I think it's very funny that he is their number 10 because there's probably, people in Salt Lake that lined up to buy that jersey and they have a Gonçalves jersey and he's just mid. I am very happy to see him just struggle. What did you guys make of RSL here against Galaxy? I didn't even really talk about Luna, who was, stole the show here. One with a really good goal and the other, capitalizing on a fraudulent activity from Galaxy. But I'll open up to y'all. What do y'all think about Salt Lake?
I don't want to talk about Diego Luna. I don't want to. Everyone else already talks about him. I feel like it's unoriginal for us to say, yeah, he's a very good player, because he's already a very good player, and everyone seems to agree on that. He won Young Player of the Year last year. We don't need to talk about him anymore. However, to go off the good guy, bad guy thing from the St. Louis SKC game, I lumped in the Rocky Mountain Cup into that discussion. And I said that Colorado Rapids were obviously the good guys, and RSL were obviously the bad guys. Now, RSL, I wouldn't call them necessarily the bad guys in the same way that St. Louis are, but you have the Colorado Rapids, who usually don't put together the most competitive of squads. Yes, this podcast, by the way, is on Box State Footy, which is a website that covers soccer in the state of Colorado. But the RSL, I think what makes them the bad guy is that they always think that they're better than they are. There really isn't like any delusion. There's just always a common delusion that, like, yes, we're a playoff team. And this goes all the way back to the days of Beckerman, Sabarillo, João Plata, Jefferson Savarino, who I still despise. Like, they're going to pick up these wins like this. They are obviously going to be fraudulent, but it's just completely unsustainable. It still is. Like, let's take a look at this upcoming schedule, because they have 4 of their next 5 on the road. They have to go to Nashville.
I hate RSL, bro.
Yeah, I hate RSL too. I hate them for different reasons than you do. But
I hate them too, man. Failhofer and Beckerman days bring me back.
Yeah, their upcoming schedule is also very rough. Like, they have to go to Nashville next week. They host Toronto.
L.
Then they have to go to San Diego, Vancouver,
L.
Dallas.
L.
It is so rough. They are about to be in for such a rude awakening. Right now, they're in 19th because they've won 3 games this year. They beat the Sounders, who never win in Salt Lake, and for which I'm eternally grateful for them to do. They beat Houston, who also aren't very good, and they beat the Galaxy, who aren't very good at all. That's a pretty easy opening schedule. They'll come back to earth as just a regular bad team. Like when we picked them, I think I picked them 13th in the league this year, which was somehow above San Diego. That keeps looking better after every week. But yeah, they're not good. They're very much not good. And Diego Luna, try as he might to carry this team, it's just not happening. Oh, and their owners might be selling as well. So that's always really nice.
Yeah, I mean, with owner change comes possible coach change as well. So I didn't get Pablo first to be fired, but I think his time might come. Well, we shall see. Any other thoughts on RSL, or are we ready to move on?
Hey, Jeremy.
Yes.
Did you know that Diego Luna was a very good player?
I do know that Diego Luna is a very good player.
Jeremy,
and honestly,
Jeremy.
it makes me happy to kind of hype him up for the national team because I don't care about the national team. And I still can't. It still blows my mind that he's technically a young player when he has the face of a 35-year-old. And I'm tired of everyone ignoring that. Like, no one talks about that. He looks like he has already, I know he has a kid and, they watch Bluey together or something like that. And, heartwarming, stuff like that. No, it looks like he's already worked, 3 different union jobs in his life.
Well, Jeremy, speaking of, did you know he worked at a coffee shop when he was...
He didn't just work at a coffee shop. He worked at Dutch Bros, which is the pride of Oregon. And you know what?
True.
That's a pretty nice thing for him because
that
there are certain Dutch Bros that I do not go to because I want to avoid certain broistas because that's what they call them there. Oh my god!
Does that mean that
sponsor?
Technically Diego Luna should be on the Portland Timbers,
No.
Discovery rights or the academies or anything?
No, because that would require the Timbers to actually sign someone from USL, and they're not going to do that. Yeah, unfortunate, but
let's head over to LAFC. I think the big one here is Dennis Bouanga. 7 games into the season, no goals. Doing his best Oliver Giroud impression. Daniel, what'd you make of LAFC here, man?
Luckily, we can keep this one pretty short and sweet. They rested a ton of their starters. Their entire midfield was rotated. Clearly with the Inter Miami midweek CONCACAF match in mind, but even so, it's 4 losses in 5 league games. You can see what they're trying to do tactically, but execution just hasn't been there. There's been a bit of a gap right now between the best version and the version that their best version that they can be in the current version of what we're seeing on the field. There also has to be questions about Denny Bouanga's lack of moments of brilliance when in years past it felt like he was lightning in a bottle. It almost feels like Hani Mukhtar's sudden disappearance in 2024. I think we've seen this before. It kind of reminds me of 2023 when they made their CONCACAF Champions League run. I think by the time they got out of the CCL at that point, they were in 10th. I would need fact checked, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And they ended the season in the West in 3rd. So I'm not worried about them yet. They still have the talent to be very, very good. I think big Steve Cherundolo just likes to rotate very heavily because he prioritizes CCC. And I can't hate a manager for that.
Any other thoughts on LAFC before we move on? Because I think
I know. I just want to say, Juan, you pronounced Olivier like Oliver. Does he get his French pronunciation back when he scores, or?
I mean, brother, he's playing in America. That boy is Oliver. So
He's playing soccer.
He's playing soccer. I was about to say the bank, but it's not even the bank anymore. But you play for a guy like Steve Cherundolo, your name's gonna be Oliver. Get out there, Ollie.
Crazy.
But I don't know, that's about all I can muster up for LAFC. So let's move on. Nashville SC. I think this is one of the earlier games, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this one was the first game actually, and it was I don't know, it was about what you would expect from two teams that prioritize strong defensive principles. I know Nashville is more keen to play with the ball, and I thought largely they were good until I will say I think what really changed the dynamic of the match is ahead 1-0. Charlotte makes some changes. In comes Kerwin Vargas trying to chase a goal, and he goes for a bicycle and just rocks Walker Zimmerman clean, and it looked pretty scary. The scenes were not, nice. I don't know how to explain it beyond just, it was like in those situations when you see a player go down, all you're thinking is please be okay, right? And I think the best sign is when they give a thumbs up, you know what I mean, on their way out, or when they're like, giving you some kind of a sign. I'm, good to say now that he was stable, did make it to the hospital, but undoubtedly, and he did manage to fly back to Nashville that evening or that next morning. We'll see kind of as the week progresses how he's doing, what the severity of that is, because head stuff is super scary, as we know more about CTE and whatnot. So I'm hoping that he is that in the appropriate protocol for him. But it can't go without saying that his impact, like his presence on that team, is just massive. And Jason Palacios comes in, tries to do his best for the last 25, but it wasn't enough. And now you got some issues there. What does this team look like without Walker Zimmerman? You have questions about Hani Mukhtar. He scored a goal in this one. Nice feed from, I think it was Lovitz, if not Lovitz, Kasim maybe. But what'd you guys make of Nashville here? I'll open it up to y'all. Unless
I
no
really
one.
like Nashville.
I like their
Nice.
style.
Yeah, I think they're a fun team. I agree with you, Josh. I like their new style. It stinks what happened to Walker. I mean, it's kind of like an occupational hazard of playing a professional sport, but he's a DP defender and he means a lot to that team. But overall, the complete 180 with BJ Callahan in, I guess, we calling this officially year one because he came in the summer last year? Is this year one for 1.5? Year 1.5 for BJ Callahan has been very impressive. They play a very, very fun style of ball. They don't need to rely on individual brilliance from guys like Hani Mukhtar or Sam Surridge, who have had pretty mediocre years to this point, and they're still finding ways to win games. And frankly, if Walker Zimmerman makes it through that whole game, Charlotte probably doesn't win. They're probably lucky to walk away with a draw. So, yeah, Nashville's a fun team when they're healthy.
Let's move on to
I
our.
want to touch on. Wait,
Oh,
can I touch on the Nashville fans for 1 sec?
yeah, let's go for it.
Obviously, what happened to Walker, terrible. But I saw a lot of people on Twitter mad about Toklamati's celebration.
Oh, I was kind of fighting myself whether or not we should include this or not, because I did see that.
Oh, my bad.
No. I mean,
They don't have an NBA team. It's simple as that. They don't have an NBA team. They don't know what that is.
I mean, there's one in the same state, though. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I didn't think when I saw that. I guess we'll talk about it because the Nashville players, it's not like they saw that and then took great offense to it. And I don't even know if in the post-game press conference, like, the players brought it up. So if it is, it's like a reach. You know what I mean? That is such a reach. But
that's what I thought, too. And, like, what do they want him to do? Demonstrate how to put someone in a recovery position? Like,
That's crazy.
Insane.
like, I don't know, man. It was a 90th minute winner, bro. A little Steph Curry never hurt nobody.
We'll talk about Toklamati later because I have some flowers for him. But let's move on to San Jose. 6-1, dominated DC United. Joseph Martinez hat trick clears Bradley Wright Phillips on the all-time goal scorer sheet. So Joseph is now all-time 6. Joseph, man, I know it's DC United, and I kind of downplayed Daniel's excitement about Earthquakes having to, prove it, as he called it in the Discord. But it's still so much fun to see Joseph Martinez on a coherent and competent team playing against a very, bad team. Don't even get me started. I forgot we had got to talk about DC, but rounding back to DC to San Jose. I'll start really with Daniel. What'd you make of their play here after sitting down and watching them in that middle of that Sunday slate?
Yeah, I was actually blessed enough to have a very, very slow day on Sunday. So at work, so I was actually able to watch a good part of this game. They are incredibly exciting when they are clicking. I think the player to watch for them, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. A guy who creates a ton for them is Amal Pellegrino. He's actually super exciting to watch. When they are flowing, he's always involved. It might not be goal scoring opportunities, but his pace of play and transition, he's just kind of like chef kiss. He doesn't mess up a ton of passes. He retains possession. He progresses consistently. I think he's earned a starting spot on that roster, and I think they're a better team with him on. And that's really who I want to give my flowers to.
Anybody else? Because I have some thoughts on Pellegrino, but I'll welcome it to everyone else, see what they think.
Go for Pellegrino because I'm going to take it in a goalkeeping direction.
Okay. You got anything, Joss?
No, I'm interested to hear the Pellegrino.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm very interested in Pellegrino.
Drink the Pellegrino water.
Drink the Pellegrino water. I have always rated Pellegrino even before he was in MLS. He was over at Bodo and Glimt in the Norwegian League, and this dude is just a goal machine. I don't think though that he has had some starts is the thing. Like he has started some games and he doesn't start well. I think he's a perfect off the bench sub because Nico Sakiris in midfield I thought played really well, and I think it's way better to see that than Christian Arango. I did say Arango could play at the 10, not in this system. Like Arango purely needs to be just a target forward here for San Jose with Joseph playing off of him. Classic striker, tall striker, lower active guy, and Joseph and Arango there. It's a good archetype of front two, but I think for me like Pellegrino, like the stats love him, like. But he also benefited from playing against DC United. You know what I mean? It's like for all the good you can give the team, it's still DC United who are like spazzing out. Honestly, I don't know how you all feel about that, but and that's the thing. I love Pellegrino, so I want to see him start more. But I'm just not sure what his role is when Hernan Lopez is healthy.
Fun facts for you, Juan, about Pellegrino. He is only 167 goals away from beating Chris Wondolowski's goal record. Platoon.
That's he's got a lot. He's got to go at a ridiculous pace now because he is 34. Like that's kind of the big thing about his lower part about his game too is he's on the wrong side of 30. But 167. If he's still playing MLS by 40, that's 6 divided by 167. He's got to have like 30 goals season to catch up. So
he was doing that in Norway.
Yeah, he was doing that in Norway, but again, I think Norway is a lower overall talent level than MLS now at this point. Maybe.
Very bold of you to say that. Very, very bold.
You think so? You think Norway's got it like that?
That was sarcastic. Of course it is. But it's fun. It's fun. Norway's fun.
Yeah, there are some fun Norwegian teams. I can't. That's why I'm like maybe, but anything else on this?
They might not be very good, but they're fun.
Yeah. I'm ready to move on to Colorado though. If anyone's got any Earthquakes takes they want to squeeze in.
Just one. I'll make it quick.
Oh yeah,
I talked about how Stefan Fry, he's the worst goalkeeper in the league in terms of goals prevented. Daniel is number 1. I said that preseason. If they're going to be good, Daniel needs to recover the 2023 form. He's been doing that. He's probably the top goalkeeper in the league this year.
I mean, it's pretty easy when you
Not
can only
Daniels.
study tape on one guy, and that one guy's been Teke.
2025, year of the Daniels. Good year.
Many are saying.
Let's move on to Colorado, who go to a very tough Vancouver Whitecaps, and I mean Vancouver is showing off their defensive discipline and able to thwart off another Kevin Cabral start for him. Oliver Larraz is the left winger, and I think the biggest thing for Colorado is, I know, who do we have on this one? Jeremy. The big thing about Colorado, and maybe you can agree or not, but when the game state is good for them, when it's level, when they're in control, they'll usually find a breakthrough. But that first goal comes, and this team just shells. This team just crawls into their shells, and they just can't come out. And there's no one that really brings them out of that shell. I mean, Georgie tries his best, and as he did in this one. But I mean, you need a second guy off Georgie, because if Georgie's not clicking, that means Navarro's not getting service, right? And I mean, Cabral is the biggest negative spot in that team. Like it's clear as day. It's like he is the number one issue in the attack for the team so far. I posted the 007 meme for him: 0 goals, 0 assists, 7 games. Jeremy, what'd you make of the Rapids on this one?
So I'm going to agree with you on the game state take, but I don't know how much of it is down to coaching versus how much of it is just down to youth. Because I noticed the same thing when they played Portland, and they let in a goal in before halftime, which is the worst time to concede, undoubtedly. But I feel like they feel like they just have to like try harder and like try more things, and they just keep on getting more and more disorganized throughout that. But also, this isn't, I would say, a bad result for them. Like, Vancouver is top of the Shield standings right now. They're obviously a very, very good team. But I'm wondering, Juanners, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that that Padraig Smith and the front office decision makers will grow a pair and buy out Kevin Cabral?
It's not going to happen.
It's just completely limiting the ceiling of this team. Like, I feel like you have to find a way to get Omir Fernandez in there and Calvin Harris before you can keep starting Kevin Cabral over and over and over again. And you have to hand it to Cabral at the same time. You know, not many players in this league have been the scapegoat for 2 different clubs. So, yeah, you got to hand it to him there.
Record level
yeah.
DP right there. We'll talk about it more on Burgundy Banter. Let's move on to FC Dallas. Head over back to Daniel. We did talk about Atlanta's game. Well, can you tell us about Dallas, who kind of used a bit more of the ball here? Still kind of, counter attack, long balls deep behind players, behind fullbacks. But what'd you make here as Acosta and Musa combined to save a point here?
Yeah. My one big note on this game was Eric Quill had a moment of brilliance himself and did a tactical shift to a 4-2-3-1 and brought in some fresh legs at half. And not long after, Peter Musa scored a goal. And then they were able to close out the draw. It's a big win for them, honestly, for a team that has a pretty leaky defense and a pretty inconsistent offense, even though they do have some star power. Getting a 1-1 draw on the road against a team that everyone kind of predicts to finish the season at the top of the Eastern Conference standings is a pretty good, non-conference win for them. And it should give them some momentum. Not non-conference draw, but it essentially is a win. And they're kind of turning these draws into resume builders, honestly. It's giving them something to build on. So I'll keep it pretty succinct about Dallas, but there's pretty good coaching from Eric Quill. And that's kind of the big takeaway for me. Good for Peter Musa too. I'm always happy when I see him score a goal.
Yeah,
I am too.
Go for it,
I
Josh.
just want to say, like, I think Peter Musa's somehow still underrated, I think, in terms of MLS strikers. I know there was a lot of hype when he came over originally. I mean, a young guy from the Benfica Academy. There was a lot of hype around what he could do here. I think that like we just don't consider him enough when we talk about like the best strikers in the league. But Peter Musa, he's up there for me.
How up there?
I'd say probably like. Would it be bad to say he's
Top 10?
top 3? Top 3?
Top 3.
Top
Top 3
three.
is nuts.
Peter Musa? I mean,
Over
look,
Toklamati?
for some, over Joveljic is crazy, I know, but I really like a lot that he's done down in Dallas. And I think that this season especially, he's gone on another level. When you think of strikers, I mean, like, I would take. I'm trying to think. Now I'm trying to think. My mind's blank. I mean, name some strikers, and I'll let you know if I think they're better or worse than Musa.
Kuipers?
Luis Muriel.
I think Luis Muriel's worse than Musa.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Brian White?
Kuipers?
Brian White, I think I think he's marginally worse,
Oh, my.
but it's very close. It's very close.
Kevin Cabral?
Oh, I think he's marginally better. He's probably 2 for me.
Kuipers, and I think that's the best direct comparison to
Ooh,
Peter.
Kuipers is a good one. I would say Kuipers is better.
Okay, we're good.
I'd say Kuipers, and I mean right now I'd say Kuipers and Benteke are my top 2.
Benteke.
I know
Luis-
that like Denke and Yeboah could still go on and do things, but I think in terms of what they've done in the league so far versus how much talent and ability is there, I just don't think we don't have a big enough sample size for Denke or Yeboah yet.
There's one guy even more underrated than Musa, I think, and it's Felipe Mora, who didn't get on the score sheet against Portland, against Austin, but beyond the Musa, anything else on Dallas before we talk about Portland?
I do. I have one thing. I really like 2 of the defenders who started for them in this game.
Nolan
And
Norris.
I'm talking about Nolan Norris,
Yes, sir.
who put him on the team list, the all MLS name team list for just typical American Youth Academy players. Nolan Norris is a shoo-in for that. And
For
then
sure.
Urohide. Even though Urohide gave away the penalty in this game, I've really liked what I've been seeing from him in the start of this season. And Dallas is such a weird team to like really get a handle on. But you can tell through Norris and Urohide that they at least have 2 young defensive pieces who will play significant minutes this year. And I like that. I like when young defenders break through more than anything because it's usually a position that you associate to veterans. So I wanted to give them their flowers really quickly.
Anything else on Dallas?
I'm excited to hear about Portland. This is always my favorite part of the week.
Well, I mean,
Oh.
Jeremy hinted at it. Young, talented defenders. And Finn Sermon, right?
Fiend Sermon.
Fiend Sermon?
Fiend Sermon, like the Travis Scott song. That's
Okay.
what we've been calling him. Because
Perfect.
he is
I'm here for
an
that.
absolute animal.
He's awesome. And, I mean, Juan Mascara back in there as well. Kamal Miller, Finn Sermon, Jimmer Forey. All of them, deserve their flowers here. I mean, I think if one of them has an off game, you can have 3 of the others step up, And even beyond that, I think, the 0-0 here, it is what it is because you're playing against Austin, but they frustrated Austin. And Portland, like, what has been the knock on Portland? Oh, yeah, their defense for a large stretches of last year was just terrible, right? Outright terrible. And now they've got, 3 clean sheets in the last 4 matches?
They have 3 clean sheets in their first 7 for this year. And to put that into context, last year they went 20 games without recording 3 clean sheets.
There you go.
So
Says everything.
that's already been the shift. But once again, I want to use this specifically because even though I guess this is like a national pod, I am just begging for some national writers to properly discuss this team and notice the defensive improvements, which has always been their knock against this team, instead of saying like, oh, it would have been like really nice, like maybe we have to worry about their attack while they're going up against an Austin team that plays such a cowardly brand of soccer in their own building. We'll get to that later. But the defensive improvements are the story of this team so far this year. And that's not just with the back line, even though Shimmer Fori, he wasn't that great in this game. He picked up a yellow card. He's going to be suspended for next weekend. So, Joss, you're welcome, I guess. You're spared from the Fori penitentiary.
Yippee!
But yeah, Kamal Miller and Finn Sermon, they just keep getting better and better every week. It's kind of insane that Maxime Crepeau has just lost his starting job like this. But at the same time, you can't really fault the performances of James Pantemis. He's just been that good. The midfield partnership in this one, Ayala and Joao Ortiz, their second game starting together. Well, actually, their third after the opener, but we don't count that. This was the best I've seen Joao Ortiz look in a Portland Timbers uniform. Very good from him. Very encouraging. So, even though the attack wasn't able to score against a team full of cowards, looking at you, Owen Wolf and Brandon Vasquez, cowards. Even though they weren't able to score, this is another road clean sheet, and that's back-to-back clean sheets on the road for this team, which is something that was unheard of when we were talking about them last year. So, that's all I have to say. Defense wins championships. Will it win one for the Timbers? I don't know, but it'd be really cool if it did.
I mean, Laurice Mabiala tried his best in 21.
Oh my. There are people, by the way, really quickly while we're talking about Laurice Mabiala, this is the 50th anniversary for the Timbers. So the team put out like your all-time Timbers 11, and there are people who are still slagging off Mabiala, putting in players like Villafania, Footy Danzo over him. Just stop the cap. Stop the cap. He is probably the best center back of the Timbers MLS era. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the Mabiala disrespect. He did not brighten up Thanksgiving in 2021 to be disrespected like this. I'm sorry, Juan, but
no, yeah. I know. I mean, I'm
happy
on the
Thanksgiving,
other end
by
of that. Wow. All right. Well,
also, one more thing. What Jeremy
it.
said about will it win the Timbers a championship? I don't know, but it'd be nice. Can you please put that on a TIFO over Timbers Army? Like, just put that quote.
I'll see who I can talk to.
That'd be really funny.
You talked about the Cauldron being very millennial coded. Timbers Army is very millennial and like Gen X coded, so I don't know. They might go for it, but they usually have pretty good ideas, and I've learned not to mess with. I've learned not to like try and meddle with the way they do things, because otherwise a lot of them get mad at me, and they're just like, we're all trying our best, and like, can you really get mad at someone who's saying that they're trying their best? I don't think you can.
Yeah, I agree with that statement for the Fire, and who traveled over to the Red Bulls. They are both next to each other on the table, so I figured we'd keep talking about them together here as one big match. But Sergeant Goma back, young. I always say he's a unicorn of a player because he's got the skill set, the talent, and the physique to be a dominant striker or winger or just any type of player, really. I think he projects well in any situation, but they like him more forward. But he's a unicorn because we rarely get to see him. He's been mostly injured, so it's good to see him, return and maybe start a little comeback player of the year campaign here. But what'd you make of this one between the Red Bulls and Fire, Jeremy? We'll open it up to everyone else, too.
Yeah, so this game is interesting because Chicago came into this being a much better road team than they were as a home team. And you could see that, once again, this team is just unafraid to go on the road in MLS. But never mind that. Chicago is next. I'm talking about the Red Bulls now. I share your thoughts on Ngoma. He is very, very fun to watch. And so also is Mohamed Sofo. So when you're rolling out a 4-2-3-1 and you're expecting to sit back and counter, and you have two 19-year-olds, well, Sofo's 20, but you have two under 21 players on the wing who are just going to run all day long. I like that, especially when your spine, at least your attacking spine, is built from a 33-year-old and a 36-year-old. So I think that's a pretty decent balance. I think they deserve to win this game. Coronel is, oh my god, how do I even describe him at this point? Like, there are some games where he looks like the best keeper in the league, and then there are some games where he just makes the most mind-blowing errors, and you're just like, what the hell was that? This was a best keeper in the league game for him, and I think it says a lot that Tim Parker has been able to claim one of these starting center back spots. I know there's a fair amount of injuries going on there, but he's completely edged Anelis out, which is unthinkable because the Red Bulls will only go as far as the Neeli can take them. Is that the plural of Neelis?
Neelises? I don't know.
Neelises, the Neeli, yeah. So he's able to nudge Anelis out of this starting 11. Omar Valencia, very good. Felipe Carballo, very good. Daniel Edelman. I think Edelman's probably one of the most underrated players in this league. And also, I think, is in for a shout on that MLS all-name team of American youth soccer products. So, gotta find a way to shorten that. But, yeah, I'm. This is a very good win for the New York Red Bulls, especially against a team that's as strong on the road as the Chicago Fire. So, you know what? Good for them. They got it done. And Carlos Coronel, I think, was my man of the match for this one. He can be so good, and then he can also be so bad. But today he decided to be very good, so good for him.
What about the? I'll open it up to the rest of the panel here if they have any thoughts on Red Bulls or Chicago. If not, I can touch on Chicago. But anybody else have thoughts on these two teams? Either of them?
Nah, I say go for it.
For me, Chicago. I think I want to see more of Brian Gutierrez. Obviously, I think they're really missing him. No Jack Elliott in this one. Fireman, they're still not at their full level. They're still not at maximum heat yet. I'd say like
nice.
if they were on a stove, I'd say they were like maybe at about a 4. You know what I mean? It's like you don't want to disrespect the 4, but by and large you can get about you know. Y'all ever make the tortillas like on the griddle and like you got to flip the tortilla over? You know you got to respect the heat there, but you know you still got to maneuver and stuff. So I say Chicago's that kind of fire. It's like you can easily maneuver around them, but you still got to respect them because Bamba, Zinkernagel, and Kuipers, man, that is a front 3 that will punish you as did Bamba. But also, candidate for a Mo Bamba replacement is Jonathan Bamba. I'm going to call him Joe Bamba from now on. I think that just fits.
I approve. I like that.
Joe Bamba. Moving on though, let's talk about Orlando and Philly. An uncharacteristic 0-0, especially after they started the season with like a 6-goal thriller, 4-2 Philadelphia coming out. This one a lot less fluid, a lot less open. We got another like Gallese match, really. He kind of stood out in this one and bailed out a rather timid Orlando side, I'll say. Who was on this one? Daniel.
I was lucky enough to get this awesome match. No, I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying that sarcastically. That was actually it was the most exciting a 0-0 matchup could have been. I was expecting a lot of goals. I think I said this stat last week where Orlando was the only team in the MLS that scored a goal every game and allowed a goal every game, and that the over of 2.5 goals hit every single game for the first 6 games. So I was expecting this to be like a 5-4 banger, but They managed to have 21 shots shot at them, and they didn't let in a single one. So they kind of came into this game with the expectation that they were going to sit deep, don't do anything stupid, and pray Galese saves everything, which he did. Guy was swatting shots like he was swatting shots away like an anti-vaxxer. I had that joke written down. I had to say it. I wasn't gonna like I waffled it back and forth. I was like, I have to say it. And it wasn't just that. It was how calm he looked the whole time. Like Philly's throwing everything at him, and he was just catching crosses like he was picking apples. First clean sheet of the year for him too, and you could tell it meant something to that group. They went in with a game plan, and Oscar Pereira said it best after the game. He said it's a good result for us. I think we take this point from a difficult place in Philadelphia with a lot of intensity, which I translated to we parked the bus and we're thrilled it didn't explode. So good job, Orlando.
I like the coach translation for sure. The one thing I did not expect was a 5-2-3 or I think a 3-4-3 here. Don't know if I will want to see that again, honestly. But beyond that, I think, just a very different approach here from Orlando. Anybody else want to step in on these guys before we move on to how Cincy won their match?
Just say one more thing. Orlando still leads the league in goals scored, and they just got shut out. I don't know why they didn't stick to their formula of, yeah, we're going to score a lot of goals. We might give up a lot of goals. Because theoretically, that's the same exact way the Union play. It's like they didn't trust that they could do it as well as Philly could.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like that 1-1 result, or that 1 point, you're going home with a point away, so you can't be super upset about it. But I really would have wished to have seen them just test it, because it would have been a banger.
Could you consider also that this was the reverse fixture of their season opener where they lost 4-2 at home and they said, no matter what, we're going to get a point out of this? So maybe switching to something a little more conservative while not being the most entertaining for the casual viewer. I think pragmatism ended up being successful here in a way. I don't know. That's kind of what I thought of it.
It was entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah,
entertaining, but without the goals.
This one I thought was a better 0-0 than the Austin-Portland one. If that's
every game is better than watching Austin FC.
Even this one, Cincinnati, New England. We talked about New England's anemic attack, but Cincinnati rolling out with no Evander, no Nwobodo, no Miles Robinson. Still
no Matt Miazga.
Yeah, still no Matt Miazga. A lot of injuries in the 11, but it's very easy to dispatch New England, who can't attack really. Sergio Santos saves the day for Cincinnati, and it's another one of those instances where I feel this in my bones. If Cincinnati were in the West, they would not be this good. I think they just get a benefit of just beating up New England Revolution at the right time. Like if there was a game to miss Evander, Nwobodo, and Miles Robinson, it's probably this one. What would you make of their game here, Joss?
Yeah, I completely agree. If ever there is a game where you're missing, Evander, potential MVP, if you're missing all of your back line and you're missing one of the best DMs, if not the best DM in the league, it is probably the one where you're playing against a bad New England, a Caleb Porter New England. I know there was a lot of talk, a lot for me, I'll even say it, about Seattle having the best depth in the league, but Cincinnati, their depth is pretty solid. They still have Sergio Santos that they can turn to, who can get a goal every once in a while. I think that Cincy, maybe they haven't been that elite side that we're used to as of yet this season, but they're still stacking these results and they're still getting the results. And we see that they're just a very well-oiled machine out in Ohio.
Any other thoughts on Cincinnati?
I'm going to prep a Cincinnati take that even though they're going to win games with Evander, I think they're going to perform like a better team without him in the side.
Ooh, a little.
But I'm
little
prepping
seed,
that.
Little
I'm
seed
prepping
plant.
that. I want it to be in the back of everyone's minds for however long he's going to be out with this knock. So we will see. We will
I
see.
think you love to hate Evander.
I don't love to hate Evander. It's just that last year I saw the Timbers put on some of their best performances without him in the team. So I understand how a team with him in it has to play in order to get the best version of him. And sometimes it means sacrificing just like other aspects of their play. So that's why I'm saying this take is being prepped. It's not going to go full in yet, but it's going to be prepped. It's something that I'm keeping in the back of my mind for all the games that he might end up missing this year. Because I don't know how serious this knock is. But yeah, if it's a knock, I usually think 2 games. That's just coach speak.
Okay, so bullets in the clip, shots not fired.
They're loaded though.
Yeah, they're
They're
still in
ready.
the clip.
Police
Yeah.
report for a potential take. Got it.
The safety is almost off. We'll say.
We're on a take watch right now, but not a take warning.
Let's head over to Austin. Again, I think
Yes.
Jeremy pointed to it. Very cowardly style of play. I again, every time I see them, Zuni and Vasquez, they are the same player. Like, I felt like the Vasquez signing was a good move, and then Uzuni, who's got talent, I can't deny it, right? But it almost feels like they're both just, the same player. They both operate in the same way, take up each other's space, and not one of them is the main focus for the team. Like, it's like, fuck it, one of Uzuni or Vasquez is down there, and I think both of them suffer from both of them being on the pitch at this point. But interested to hear your guys' thoughts. We'll start first with Jeremy, since this is the team he got to see Portland, play against. What'd you make of Austin, besides, what we already know about their cowardliness?
I am so happy that this is obviously I still have to pay attention to them for this podcast and just watching the league, but I'm looking at their schedule right now. They have another standalone game in 2 weeks against the Galaxy. That might be the worst game of the season, guys. It's gonna be god awful. But I had more takeaways for Austin than I did for Portland in this game. And the first one is, did you know that it costs around $180 to attend a Q2 stadium match if you want to get proper amount of food and drink?
Yep, it is late stage capitalism, El Tree over there for sure. I mean, Money Tree, I guess.
Very much.
What qualifies
Very much so.
Proper meal over there?
2 entrees and 2 beers. I didn't specify the entrees.
Mm.
But yeah, so you're properly fed and boozed, I guess, if you want to eat 2 entrees and have 2 beers. Usually, because I just think of stadium portions as really small. So you're already out $180. Most of that, by the way, is going to parking, which, yeah, that's absurd. But also, I guess, on brand for Texas. But you know what isn't? You know what also is on brand for Texas? Their little light show after they score goals.
None
and
tonight.
None tonight, and none really for most of this season. Actually, they do not do. Mostly because they've been playing a ton of day games, but I guess they do it during day games too. I don't know. But this team is committed to playing healthy. They want to be healthy this year because they are denying their fans the opportunity to get brain damage from those light shows by refusing to score goals at home. by setting up in such a manner so they do not have to let the lights go whenever they score and focus on putting 10 players behind the ball. It's healthy. It's a health initiative because they have broccoli on their crest. And they're finally leaning into it this year. They want their fans to go home without any brain damage except for the one caused by just thinking about how much money they spent on this attack, which is about 30 million. That's the number that keeps getting thrown around for this Austin attack. A $30 million attack between Bukhari, between Vasquez, between Uzuni, and how their entire game model is predicated to not flow through all three of those guys. Rather, it's supposed to flow through whoever their six is. In this case, it was Basard Sabovic, who I love to hate, and who also sent a shot like almost to the corner flag in this one, which I guess what's the word here? Emitted a large chuckle from one such as myself because it was very, very funny, and it was a very, very like easy chance, I guess, to at least put somewhere close to the goal. So, I think Austin is going to be a pain in the neck for everyone who has to play them this year. They are a pain in the neck for everyone who has to watch them this year. They are a pain in the neck for their own fans who shell out like $200 just to go watch them play in their home stadium, only for them to play like cowards. And based on what Nico Estevez has said, based on what Brendan Hines-Ike has said after this game, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I think that's a huge issue. And also, I'm tired of... Yeah. I'm also tired of, like, Owen Wolf actually being good. Like, if there's anyone, like, who's just, like, a coach's son, who's just, like, running around, that I think would be really funny if they failed, it's Owen Wolf. And the fact that he's actually, like, the one guy who's, like, actually trying to make things happen in the attack, I think that's ridiculous. I think it's so ridiculous that he actually is a good soccer player. Oh, it's so annoying. Just like the rest of that team. Oh my god. 10 players behind the ball at home, everyone. In the 20th minute of a 0-0 game.
Counterpoint, Jeremy.
If they get a point
I think,
at home.
Yeah. Counterpoint. Fans everywhere in America have been shouting that the quality of play in the MLS needs to be improved. I think somewhere in Spain, Diego Simeone is crying tears of joy at how Austin is playing right now. Just pure champagne football.
I mean, if that
By his
champagne
standards.
is gonna, make you feel like shit every time, then it is champagne.
Speaking of champagne, their like little supporter section, they just love throwing beer for like no reason. I clocked at least like 5 times in this game where just something happened and a beer was thrown. Like, someone threw a beer when their lone shot on target from Vasquez was saved by James Pantemis. Like, you're already getting, like, drained financially just by being here. I don't think you should be throwing those beers away, guys.
Every drop is I'm making sure every drop gets in my body, honestly, at that point. You can't waste, not in this economy.
Not in this economy.
Let's head back to Charlotte. Talked about how the game tremendously shifted in their favor once Walker Zimmerman was out. I don't think, again, not intentional. First, it's funny that anyone would even say that was intentional, and two, that Toklamati's celebration there was I guess taunting. I don't know that reach, but this game shifted when Pep Biel dropped from his winger position into center midfield. We were kind of having this talk in the Discord about their attack. Leo Labata has largely been uninspiring. I like to see Kerwin Vargas. I really, between him and Abada now, in my opinion, on who you start there. But even between Ayamang and Toklamati, I do like Toklamati. I really do think he is a crafty finisher. I think he is a perfect understudy to Ayamang, despite, both of them being fairly young. Like, Ajamang's 24, You got Tokomati behind him. 20 years old? Yeah. So
Sure.
it's a good dynamic there. I'll head over to Daniel. What'd you make of Charlotte here in their 2-1 win?
I think overall it was a solid performance. And I said last week that Leal Abada, the experiment, I was done with it, and apparently so was Dean Smith because he pretty much just iced him out of the game. Um, Pat Beal is not a winger, and that's how you know things are looking pretty bleak. You're right. Things did shift for the good whenever Kerwin Vargas got subbed on and Pep Beal was able to play more centrally. I think that's how they're going to have to play going forward. It really is just going to come down to, do you give Abada a little bit longer of a leash and let him kind of grow into it because he is making a DP wage right now? Or do you cut ties with him mid-season and try to find a replacement? Because you cannot be a productive organization and allow a guy to eat up those kind of wages and then not play him. But at the same time, with the wages that you do have from your, best players right now, you gotta win. It's a win now kind of team. So you kind of got like this double-edged sword. I think going forward, you're gonna have to see some bravery from Dean Smith in mixing up the lineups to find the best pairing to get the most out of these guys, even if that means playing Tokomati because he has 2 goals in 2 games now, which is already more than Patrick Adjemaine has all season. So it really is just having some bravery, going against the curve and finding those best lineups to find a way to win more consistently. Because if you don't make that switch at halftime with Vargas and Beal, you probably don't win this game. You're probably not even in a position to win the game when Zimmerman goes out. Last piece, we'll keep it pretty short on Charlotte because I think you hit on a lot of the main points. That goal by Tokomati was disgusting. He dummied the keeper and then sent the ball past 3 Nashville defenders. And I thought that was pretty cool seeing from a 20-year-old who is only on his first season with the first team.
Any other notes on Charlotte for the rest of the cast?
Pep Biel is tied for the league lead in assists. That's pretty cool.
And
I
he's
think
got,
he needs
he's a
to
very
play
good player.
centrally.
he's got like
He's a very good player.
9 goal contributions now.
He
Something like
is the best non-DP in the league, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But that's a
At the
debate for another day.
At the beginning of the season, Manu Garcia got compared to Pep Beal in a way that it was like he is not the kind of signing that would move Sporting KC up, but Pep Beal this season has been outstanding. So I'm hoping he's like Pep Beal.
we shall see.
Yeah.
I do think though Pat Beal not on a DP contract is massive. But yeah, I think beyond Charlotte, moving on to Philadelphia, touched a little bit on that on their 0-0 against Orlando. This was, we'll go back to Daniel here. Ty Baribo kind of cooled off. He wasn't going to be, shooting every week like that after such a, commanding start. But now it's like, okay, a little bit of issue there. Damiani got the start. I really like him. He's a good striker, I think. But we'll go to Daniel. What'd you make of Philadelphia here?
I think you could put a grave right outside of Subaru Park that says April 5th, 2025, and then where the name's supposed to go, just put goals. Because that's where goals went to die that day. And honestly, it was kind of one of those matches that had everything but a goal. The Union were completely dominant. 21 shots, 60% possession, ton of pressure. They just couldn't finish. They were clearly the better side for most of the match. And if you're Philly, you're probably walking away thinking, yeah, that's 2 points dropped. On the Philly side of this game, Andre Blake got his 80th clean sheet in the MLS, which is ridiculous. The guy just keeps stacking numbers without making a big deal about it. But yeah, Union fans had to be frustrated. This game should have been put to bed by halftime. There were some tactical tweaks this game. Brad Carnell started Damiani up front with Baribo. He flipped the wing backs, but nothing really changed the fact that finishing just wasn't there. Credit to Orlando for hanging in this game. I think I didn't bring this up for Orlando last time, but they just extended their unbeaten streak to 4. I don't know why I have that note with Philly. But yeah, no,
Thanks
they
to Philly. Thank you, Philly.
yeah, I don't know why I did that, but yeah, if you're Philly, you still like the way you're playing if you're a Philadelphia fan, particularly with guys like Quinn Sullivan, who I saw a Philadelphia fan actually compare him in terms of quality to a Diego Rubio, not Diego Rubio. Who am I thinking of?
Rossi?
My mind's blank. No, sorry, it's late. It's late on the East Coast, guys. I'm sorry. Who's the young Diego Luna? I'm sorry.
Yes.
So, I mean, he's starting to get some praise, and he is probably the only true creator on that Philadelphia team for a head coach that hates creators. And it's just one of those where if one goal bounces in, the floodgates probably open, and we're probably telling a different story. But I don't think I've ever seen a team shoot 21 times and not score. So,
Just one of those days.
it's just one of those days.
Let's head on over to my Minnesota, who got started early. Tony Eloise scored in the first minute. Will Trapp, a crafty little set piece there. Very standard Minnesota game, and I thought it was interesting. No Morris Duggan. Our boy was dropped for Jefferson Diaz and Nicholas Romero, who are kind of, a bit more attacking center backs. They definitely like to hold on to it and, be involved a little bit and build up. But again, tidy performance from Minnesota. I saw this Blue Sky tweet that somebody said that they thought Minnesota played like a boring style of soccer, and I'm like, you don't watch Austin. You're not watching Houston. You're not watching New England. You're not watching DC. Like, Minnesota is winning games. They do have some issues in the back. They're winning games. They have two fucking awesome strikers. Two of them. Most teams barely even have one, but they have two awesome strikers. They're picking up wins, playing their style. I mean, what's not to love? I don't get how people support their teams. I'm like, I would kill for this Minnesota United team, But what are y'all's thoughts on Minnesota? They for me are my most favorite Western Conference team, but they're probably not the best.
Even more than Colorado. Wow.
Well, I mean, outside of Colorado, obviously.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I personally, Juan, what you were talking about, them being boring, that is also, I agree with you. I think that there's almost nothing better than like a quintessential counterattack goal where every move is precise and the ball is perfect every time and it ends up with a goal. And Minnesota scored that in the first minute against NYCFC, where they win the ball back and then they're gone. And Yeboah, he does a great job of just holding up the play and letting Pereira come in, and then Pereira delivers a dime to Oluwaseyi. I really, really just love when teams play differently, when teams don't need possession in order to win. I feel like St. Louis is like evil Minnesota in that they don't try to win. Minnesota is the good version where they'll counter you to death and you'll have to figure out a way to deal with it, but they're trying to win these games.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. I think Joaquin Pereira, dude, like
unbelievable.
He could play himself into some very strong, I don't know, MVP candidate talk, because I mean this team is stacked, honestly. But I do quite like Joaquin Pereira as their creator there, and it kind of took a minute. Took Hassani Dotson to be injured for him to kind of really step in, but I like him and Law together, man. Like those two, man. That midfield pairing there, it just works. It's just chef's kiss there. Anybody else's thoughts on Minnesota before we move on to Miami?
Guess we're gonna have to find a new Morris of the week, huh?
Oh,
I mean, Nolan
right.
Norris should keep.
That counts.
We'll get him as the sub in for now.
Yeah, that's fine. Also, once again, I picked Minnesota to win the West this year. Very confident in that. Still, good win. Also, the flirting versus harassment dynamic that they have with Austin and St. Louis. I love that because they're playing counterattacking soccer the correct way. And also, it's worth noting they were on the road for this one, and
yes.
That's how you're supposed to play on the road. not when you play at home. So
I mean, they
very, very
benefited
happy about
from
that.
that small pitch too. Like that definitely had a factor in it.
Yeah, they took advantage of that, and that's good. You know, I love it when NYCFC loses on their home field because it's such a nonsense place to play. Despite myself being a Yankees fan, which actually angers me even more that they play soccer there.
Another nonsense park is Chase Stadium, where Miami plays. Just a random jumbled mess of bleachers out there. But 1-1, frustrated by Toronto FC. I, of course, went to bat for Toronto, saying that their defense holds up. Long term, it should, and very bold choice not to play Messi and Suarez and Neymar, not Neymar, Busquets and Jordi Alba. I was about to say, if they had Neymar, then we're really starting to get into some serious league manipulation allegations. But beyond that, I was expecting them to rotate here and let the depth kind of prove that they can do it against Toronto. Maybe Messi wanted to let off steam after not being able to, score against LAFC, but I thought that was the wrong move here. What are y'all's thoughts here on Miami? Messi bailed them out of a goal, of a loss here, but any thoughts on Miami besides, the regurgitated stuff that we hear about them year in, year out?
No,
I think I'm just going to say really quickly, I think it would be really funny if this causes them to crash out of CONCACAF because they played Messi for too long against Toronto FC on Sunday Night Soccer. That would be really funny.
This is Toronto figuring out their defensive form. LAFC knows how to play against the ball. You know what I mean? They know how to set up that way. And, into Miami's defense, man, still some issues. Still to this day. Because, Toronto were close. Toronto were close to scoring more. They hit the post twice. But curious to hear anybody else's thoughts on Miami here.
Is this this? I know we talked about it earlier this season, but with Miami letting go of Julian Gressel, have we figured out why they did that yet?
No, he's still on the team, but he's iced out.
Oh, he's still on the team. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Exile, not letting go. Yeah, my fault. But why?
Because he's not part of the clique.
It just feels.
That's what happens.
He's so good.
Around in Argentina.
When you bring in the lunch club, yeah.
He's gonna want his boys at the lunch table.
It's fun. I feel so bad for him. I think I really like Gressel. I think he could do a shift for this Miami team. And if not them, he could definitely do a shift anywhere else. Yeah. But I think he deserves to play at some of the better teams in the league. And it sucks that he's been pretty much iced out by Messi's hall monitor.
Gressel to Colorado. Oh my God. That would be
chills.
That would be chills.
Oh my gosh. Gressel and Jordan the same. That'd be amazing, actually.
I'm going to start that campaign. But, moving on from Miami. I know they even got their new striker, Alan Obando, some minutes, but it's whatever. He'll be fine. This team's stacked. He probably should have come on earlier. But moving on, let's talk about a team that is very, very, very fun. San Diego smashed Seattle. I thought if there's ever a game to prove that you are that team, that you've proven the doubters wrong, it's a nice feather in the cap to beat the Sounders 3-0. Not a lot of teams get that. Ain't that right, Jeremy?
Yeah, the Timbers have done it before, so
Exactly.
Congratulations to San Diego for matching that.
We did get Irving Lozano back, playing to, honestly, his usual self. He is, this team just operated well without him. Slot him back in, and he's just as good still. So, kind of unfair that San Diego get that new expansion side shine. Will this last? I do quite like the team as a whole, but kind of interested to hear what the rest of the cast have to say, because I know we all kind of rated them pretty low. So open it up to y'all. What are we thinking about San Diego here?
I just made one snap judgment on San Diego. Is it me, or does it feel like they always come out the gate super hot? Like, they scored the same thing last week against LAFC. They scored 3 goals in the first half against LAFC, and they scored 3 goals in the first half against Seattle. Like, they're just one of those teams that has the ability to just turn it on.
Play the
It's
brakes
kind
off.
of
Yeah.
actually ridiculous for a team that has played 7 games together to just be able to flip a switch and go. I'm actually kind of jealous of it, honestly.
I mean, that's a lot of that's I think Luca de la Torre, who just turns it on and runs and runs and runs in the midfield. You got good overlap with Lawfulson and Negri, who are, they're not like attacking, but they both support the attack so well, if that makes sense. And I mean, Lawfulson with a dime as well in this one. Anyone else feeling good about San Diego? Can we put Mikey Varas in Coach of the Year talks yet? What are we thinking?
Not yet.
Last week I was putting him in Coach of the Year talk. So yeah, of course, keep him going. I don't know how impressive this win is against the Sounders, based on how well the Sounders are playing, which they're not. They're stinky, but this is still a good win, and you got to win your home games. And I think what was the best part about it is that the second half was pretty much an afterthought, because when you go into the break up 3-0, it's just about controlling the game in the second half and just finding ways to just limit whatever the Sounders are going to try and throw at you, which for some reason for them was to take Albert Rusnak off. Whatever. This is about San Diego. Yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed with this team. I'm impressed with their discipline. I'm impressed that it seems like they've been playing for at least 3 years together already. It's fun. It's fun. I don't agree with them as a concept, as a team, because I'm still loyal. Get it? But,
Nice.
yeah. Good for them. At least they're taking advantage of their opportunity to actually try and play ball-dominant soccer, which is something you haven't seen since LAFC when they entered the league. And they aren't trying to murder ball their way like St. Louis does. So I like this approach, and it's good. Very good for them. They should be pretty happy about themselves after this one.
Joss, anything on San Diego, or are you ready to talk about Columbus Crew here?
San Diego fans, if you're out there listening, do you want a no type apology from me, or like do I send you chocolates? Because I was not expecting you guys to be this good, and that's on me.
You got to give them a nice prompt proposal. All
Done.
of them. Everyone.
All of them, all 9 of them. No, I'm kidding. They fill out their stadium.
Or you gotta dress up as a Snapdragon. Whatever
Sure.
that is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Let's talk about Columbus, though. No Cucho, no problem. That is the theme of their season, but they could always. I mean, I say they could always use an extra, DP caliber player, but I mean they're doing it without one. I know it's Montreal, they're figuring it out, but man, still, Columbus. It's like Nancy says, they're just limitless. Like Jason Russell-Rowe drops in really well as a striker Diego Rossi drops in well to just be a creator, and Russell-Rowe is just great at being that outlet, being that extra guy, and we talked a lot about him last week. Moreira back in the 11, Malte Amundsen back in the 11, Chiberko, probably for me Defender of the Year nominee right there, because I think he's just been lights out. But what do you think, Joss? Talk to me about Columbus.
Yeah, I wanted to touch mostly on Columbus's defense, because that's where they've been very good this year. I mean, no Cucho is obviously a huge. We all thought it was going to be a huge issue. We were waiting for this dip to come with the lack of a player like Cucho, because in Nancy's system, Cucho was kind of like the railroad tracks for which the whole team could roll over on, and he was the foundation. He was their defending from the front that Nancy's so well known for. That was all embodied in what Cucho Hernandez was. But this year, their goal metrics, they've been good. They're still good, but it's their defensive work that like has really kind of lifted up a lot. Where I think they're fourth best in non-penalty XG allowed. So yeah, their defensive game is what really has made them not miss Cucho as much as we thought, because they're just not conceding as much. And so I think like they've earned this spot where they're still undefeated. One of the few undefeated teams left, and I think it's only them and Inter Miami actually. And they still have this new foundation based on this defense where they can go and add in a striker if they still want to. I know Russell Rowe's been very good, as has Diego Rossi. And AZ just chipped in with a goal, who I've been impressed with thoroughly. I feel like he's been kind of unlucky over the past few game weeks to not have scored until he scored against he scored last weekend. So yeah, I'm waiting for them to get that striker, but with their defensive work, they're so solid now that maybe this doesn't need to be an elite level striker. Maybe they can save it for a different position. Just been really impressed with how good Columbus are under Wilfred Nancy.
Any other thoughts on Columbus, y'all? Because I know, it's easier to not concede. We could just hold on to the ball, and that's Nazi ball. Like, if you watch MLS, if you are MLS conscious, Columbus Crew conscious, if you know how this league is structured, you'd know that Columbus just hold on to the ball, and every game they're just gonna keep you from it, right? But what more can you say about the best team in the East still? And that's kind of a testament to that club. But best in the West and best in the entire league is Vancouver, who beat Colorado Rapids 2-0 off a goal from, first was Sabi scored the second, and then was it Brian White who got back on the score sheet?
It was Brian White who just somehow pops up in front of the goal and the ball goes in the back of the net.
Yep, and then from
How
there,
does he keep doing it?
New Jersey Mario Gomez.
I thought that was a little bit of a fraud goal to concede from the Rapids, a little bit of a soft one, but then Vancouver just rode out that win, that 2-0. Sabi, I like Sabi. I think long term he could be a good MLS player, but it was good to see him on the goal sheet. But how is everyone here sold on Vancouver yet? Because I know I really was at the start, and then we start to see those two teams. It was them in Philadelphia, and now it's just them. And not only is it just them, it's them in the middle of CCC, which is like bananas. But I'll open it to Jeremy and then to the rest of the cast here before we wrap it up. What are we thinking about Vancouver, man? Like Jesper Sorensen, Coach of the Year, maybe. I know I'll give Fares, but what'd you make of it?
I'm still relatively sold on Vancouver, mostly because they're missing 4 starters due to injury. You have Adekugbe, who's been out for a while. You have Gald, who's still been out for a while. Laborda still been out. And Jaden Nelson, even though I think I think he's the only player on this team that could be pretty high in the fraud watch rankings. But
okay.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not gonna shy away from that take. But they're just able to get it done week after week after week. Consistent identity that's an evolution from what they were doing under Vanni Sartini. So it isn't like their principles are all that different. It's just that they've evolved a little bit. And I like that. I really do. They're just a really, really entertaining team. They get good contributions out of their youngsters. Their chief youngster in this one, Tate Johnson, who's been stepping in at left back. I've been seeing shouts for Andres Kubas to win MVP, which I'm all for respecting the ball-winning midfielder role. But I never heard that from Diego Chara, so whatever. Okay. Brian White, by the way, I have one more point to make, and it's about Brian White. I think his use against the salary cap as a non-DP, I think it makes this entire roster. I think it's the best piece for this entire roster, that you have a player like Brian White on this team who isn't on a DP contract. And I haven't looked at their roster profile in a little bit, but I'm pretty sure they do have an open DP slot, so they could potentially use that to bring in someone who could replace Stuart Armstrong, who left in the offseason. And the thought of this team still being able to add another DP, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, Red Bull fumbled Brian White. Like, that's probably one of the biggest fumbles in MLS history.
Agreed.
Any other thoughts on Vancouver? I'll open it up to Joss and Daniel before we wrap this one up.
Yeah, give me Sorensen Coach of the Year.
Really?
You think so? You're there. You're there for him.
I'm on board. I'm on board. I really am. I just think they're fun.
We haven't even seen a 5-game sample size for Kerry Zavagnin. So, are you sure we can say
That's
that?
a very valid point. I retract my statement. I'm so sorry, Kerry Zavagnin. Please forgive me.
Don't let the Off to See the Wizards fans hear you say that. No, I'm with you though. I do like Sorensen, man, and he's like, I want to rub his head. He's got that like cue ball of a head, bro.
I can't believe that he was out of work for a year, and I don't know, maybe just waiting for the right job to show up, and maybe it's like a match made in heaven for Sorensen in Vancouver. Who knows? But the things that he's done with his Vancouver team, I mean, they are unbelievable.
Hey, we might see them make a run here in CCC as well.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the scenes if he wins CCC? Just hand him the award. Honestly.
Yeah.
But Daniel, any thoughts on Vancouver?
Yeah, next week they play Austin, terrorists. The following week they play St. Louis, terrorists. And then at the end of the month, they are graced with Minnesota, who I think is the best team in the West.
That's
so,
going to be the match.
If they can get past 2 Al-Qaeda level terrorist teams and then beat Minnesota, I will say this is the team of destiny, and they are the best team in the MLS, pound for pound, with what they have at their disposal. So
I'd rather see them win CCC, honestly.
That would be electric. Would love that for them.
I wouldn't be able to believe that. Like if we're doing good guy bad guy rivalries, like where does that put Portland in the Cascadia if Vancouver and Seattle each have CONCACAF titles?
Ooh, that's I mean, in wrestling, the guy chasing the championship is always best as the baby face, right? So
yeah.
I mean, there you go. Like still the perennial good guys, because I think you always root for someone that hasn't had one yet, an MLS Cup.
Have you guys ever seen Austin Powers?
No.
Yes.
Damn, I'm showing my age. It's like Austin Powers, Mini Me is Seattle and Vancouver, and then Portland Scotty.
Okay.
Oh God damn it! Get out of here.
With that, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. I may end up editing it down and releasing it in bits, and then doing one large podcast. But let's start with Daniel. Where can they find you?
Find me on X, the Everything app at VoxPro MLS. You'll see me on there as Major League Shill.
Jeremy, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Elon app at Sports Guy Jeremy. You can find me on Blue Sky at jeremypeterman.bsky.social. You can read my work at cascadiafc.substack.com. Wow, it's late.
Real-time rewind there. Joss, where can they find you?
Firstly, shout out Jeremy's work. I really do like it. On his Substack. Check him out. Good quality stuff. You can find me on Elon's app as well, Josh Bathtub, and on Instagram and Twitter at Off to See the Wizards.
For me, you can find me at juanners.bsky.social, trying to steer away from the Elon app, but I'll still be there posting just random thoughts. But for all my MLS thoughts, those are exclusive to Blue Sky now. So beyond that, though, you can also find Box State Footy on Twitter at Box State Footy. Box State Footy on YouTube, on all your podcasts as well. Be sure to share this with your fellow MLS sickos, those who enjoy 2 hours and 45 minutes of uninterrupted Major League Soccer banter and talk and really good stuff. So yeah, appreciate you listening. We'll see you next week for some more Outside the Box. Bye-bye.